And we are live once again. This is live number 5, right? Number 5? Cool. All right. So this is Mary Truth Talks. Guys, I'm always going to say this. Follow me on Instagram, Mary_Truth. And we have a special guest today.
Hello. My name is Albenis.
Yes, Albenis is going to be educating us on finance and his perspective on politics. We both have different views, but we kind of agree on a lot of things at the same time. So I kind of want to ask him some questions about what he thinks about what's going on with the economy, the assassination attempts, January 6th. We're going to have a very interesting conversation today.
Sure.
So where can they follow you before we begin?
So, I'm basically only on Instagram, kind of. It's my name, Albenis Gil Jr. It's ALBENISGILJR. But that's pretty much. I'm not really on social media like that, but
yet we're getting
there.
Exactly.
Once I start getting messages and stuff like that, I'll be out there on more.
All right. And then what made you want to do this podcast?
Well, I just like having conversations. I talking with people, like exploring other people's minds, seeing other people's perspectives, because I feel like confirming each other's biases, just like if I agree with everything you say, that's not really a conversation to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So having conversations where I expand your bias, you expand my bias, that kind of stuff. That's why I joined.
My goal today is to learn as much as possible from you.
For sure, me too.
Because I don't know anything about the economy. I mean, we had a conversation before, and I don't know anything about the economy. I know the most basic, I mean, what can you expect? They don't teach you about the economy in school. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, I don't know. How old are you?
28.
Oh, okay, we're the same age. Okay, so, but you went to a better school. So, I mean, you had freaking debate class. I didn't. I would have bombed. I would have loved having debate class. That was not a thing in South Miami. But I remember when we were in school, I don't know how it was in Braddock, but we're from Miami, guys, by the way. Anybody who doesn't know.
305.
Yeah, till we die. Maybe. Till you die? Till I die? No?
I don't know about that one, Chief.
At least for now. I mean, come on.
At least for now, yeah, for sure.
Maybe if the levels go, we're like
until I get a cash infusion, maybe.
Yeah. But till then, I'm not leaving. I have a friend. His shout out to Edward, who I want him to join the podcast. I'm still persuading him. He's like, oh, you gotta go to Texas. Texas is way better. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna go to Texas. I'll go to Austin just to see Kill Tony. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
But that's it. I'm not gonna go and live there. Fuck that.
I want to explore all the U.S. Like I want to tour. Like my goal for like my life has always been explore the contingent U.S. Like all of it.
I want to go to D.C.
I've been to D.C. Super fun, super awesome. I was super young though, so I wasn't even into what I'm into now.
Exactly. So it's different.
It's a completely different vibe. It was like 2014, 2015, so I had just graduated, and it was like, cool. I've always loved history. I'm a huge history buff. For me too. I love history. I love talking about history, but like it's a different appreciation now than like back then.
Do you agree that if you like history, that kind of politics kind of goes hand in hand?
For sure.
So you can't say I like history, not politics. It just
100%. I mean, to a certain extent, I guess, because there's people that just like don't like talking about politics, and that's fine, I guess. But if you're into history, you have to have some kind of like, at least some kind of thought on what politics is. Even if you don't want to talk about it, you have to have some kind of like perspective on it.
Right. Yeah. I didn't really understand that until I started studying politics. That I was like, oh, you actually need to know history to understand politics, because they literally go hand in hand with each other. But I was telling you about the economy with school is that they teach you half. Remember, senior year, it's half economy and then half government.
Yep.
Who created that program? Like,
you know what's crazy about that?
Doesn't make any sense.
I skipped 52 classes in that year. Like 52 classes, like days. I just completely
skipped. You somehow passed.
It was an A.
Yeah, you see, I would have failed.
Yeah, I passed with an A.
I mean, we already had this conversation. You passed without trying, and I actually have to study to pass. Like, I'm one of those kids that I had to read the book, then I had to highlight, create an outline, and then create flashcards, and then memorize those flashcards. Yeah, that's how I was studying.
Yeah, no, with me, it was kind of like just either hear it or like read it, and then maybe do the questions, but not.
Yeah, I envied you. You were that kid. But I have a friend, Eddie. Bro, that kid he didn't study anything. He didn't even do the homework, and he would pass. I'm like, F you, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, I literally would tell him, I would do the homework with him, right? and I still failed geometry. I had to
What?
take it in summer school, and then in the 2 months that I had summer school, I passed with a B. That tells you like everything about teachers.
Yeah.
Like how is it that I was able to pass with a B with one teacher that had to teach the whole thing in 2 months, and then for the whole year with another teacher, I didn't learn anything.
I think passion has a lot to do with it right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've always said that, like, even if I have the best quote unquote doctor in the world, I wouldn't want him or her if they're in it for the money. I want them to do it just because they're passionate, and maybe they're not the best, but you're passionate about it, so I want you.
You said that, and I just, you're into PPD, right? Okay, so he just dropped a video with Stephen Baldwin. I don't know if you know who that is. Stephen Baldwin? I think it's Stephen. His brother is like a known, bro, what am I doing? I have a freaking tablet right here in front of me, guys. Like, guys, I'm sorry, but
Sounds familiar, but
my editor slash production maker is currently not here at the moment, so you guys don't know who Steven is.
He's MIA.
You're gonna have to go on your own and figure that out. Baldwin, this guy.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so
yeah.
That's okay. Alec is the guy you actually know, which is his older brother. So this guy is literally talking about how like artists now don't really care about the art, they care about the money, and it defeats the purpose of being an artist. And that hit home for me because I consider myself an artist because I've been doing art since I was a kid. Like I went from dancing to doing actual sketching to now making like content. So like, but I'm doing it because I love it, not because I'm trying to make any type of profit out of it. If I do in the long run, great, but that's not the goal.
And that's the right mentality.
Exactly. But that's not what's going on right now. Everything's all about the money. And if you put money into art, it corrupts it.
Yep.
So, 100%. 110%. There's, I wanted you to go back on, because we were talking about the economy, guys. So I want to hit that real quick. So you were talking about interest rates. Okay, so when the whole thing with Obama happened, you said that you don't agree that he should have bailed out banks.
For sure, no.
Why?
Because that made a precedent that is still affecting us now to this day. It's kind of like a butterfly effect, because he opened up the floodgates to be able to do that kind of thing. And it wasn't technically him. Obviously, he had to like okay it or whatever, but it was more than anything Ben Bernanke, which is the Fed chairman of the time. Right now we have Jerome Powell.
Yeah, that guy.
He's like the guy.
What do you think about him?
I mean, 2 years ago he said that inflation was transitory. Clearly, it's not, because it's still here.
What does that mean?
It would just come and go.
Okay.
And he told that to Congress. Like he was like talking to Congress. He was saying, "Yeah, no, inflation is fine. Like we're gonna be fine." But then as time kept on going, he's like, "Okay, so maybe inflation is maybe a little bit stickier than I thought it was gonna be." And then more time kept going, and he's like, "Yeah, inflation is a problem, but we're on the right path." And now he's like, yeah, inflation is still here, but we're figuring it out as the data comes in. So he's kind of like not given a cemented position of where he wants to be. He speaks very well. That's one thing for sure. The way that he talks about the economy and the stock market and everything about that, like interest rates, the way he gives the news is top tier. Like that man speaks a language that is, I wish I could talk.
That only economists understand, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, like,
because I don't know what the hell he's saying.
I think that the way that he talks is more like, yeah. I think the economists, like for example, me would see through the bullshit that he's trying to say, but he speaks in a way that like the layman can understand. The
only economist I understand is because at the end of the day he is a writer, and I'm a writer too, so I understand writers because they don't speak in such like, I don't know, like these terms, scientific. They like a writer is more creative, and they're trying to explain it to you in a way
more
to
the point.
Yeah,
it's
and
logical,
and in a more metaphorical way where you can actually like picture what they're saying. You know. It's Thomas Sowell. Sowell. You know, I'm talking about the black guy. He's a known black historian. He's also an economist. I really fuck with him. he's gonna croak soon. God bless his soul. He's 90 something years old. But you know, he's like, I have 2 books right now on standby that I want to buy from him. That's the only guy that I understand what the hell he's saying. And this is a black historian / economist who shits on Obama. He says that Obama is when pretty much Marxism started becoming like apparent. Like before that, it was kind of like hiding, and then when Obama came in, he made it pretty obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely made it more apparent for sure. Just because like Marxism is a very weird term to describe nowadays. Just because I feel like people just throw it out there.
What do you think it is now that we're having that conversation?
Marxism is more of a philosophy, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where it's like communism is more the enactment kind of.
Right. The practice.
Mm-hmm,
Uh-huh.
mm-hmm. So there's some things that I can agree with, but there's other things that I don't agree with. Like I agree with if I'm an employee, I would like to make like, okay, so let me rephrase. If we're working in a company and I'm an employee and the company is doing better, I would want to get part of that, like us doing better too. And in a capitalist economy, it could happen, but more than likely it won't happen.
Right.
Just because the people at the top are always going to be making the most money. And that's what's happening right now. The 1% it literally holds more than 50% of our entire wealth as a nation, which is just mind blowing to me, because it's like 99% holds a couple $1 trillion, where the 1% holds the other rest of the trillions. And trillions and billions of dollars is another word that gets thrown out there that's super. Billions is a huge number.
Yeah.
A huge number.
I can't even fathom.
There's people that have hundreds of billions of dollars.
It's fucking crazy.
Warren Buffett has 114 cash.
Can you can buy countries with
I mean, essentially
multiple countries with that amount of money.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's third world countries out there that, I mean, all of Cuba.
Yeah. Cuba's
you throw $2 bill and you basically buy all of Cuba.
I mean, with billions, you can buy Africa. I think you can buy a continent.
For sure.
Fuck a country.
But,
you can buy a continent.
And this is where I disagree with most of the billionaires, and that's I think that's my biggest issue with America right now. That the billionaires are so rotten, and not all of them, because for example, there's the Mark Cuban, for example, that.
Oh, I don't like that guy, but yes,
I like him because he's more for the people. Like I like what he does with the medicine, for example. Cost plus drugs.
What is he doing with the medicine?
So
I just know him because he's like a Kamala voter, and I don't understand how you can be a Kamala voter if you're making that much money.
Well, he
doesn't make sense.
He supported Trump in 2015.
I know, that's why I'm like,
but then
what
he talked
happened with the flip flopping?
And then he didn't like him because he didn't like how the way that he ran business, which is fine. I mean, he's a billionaire. I can't. I'm not at the level that Mark Cuban is, so I can't judge at that level.
Right.
And I can't.
But it doesn't make sense. Why would you choose somebody that doesn't know anything about the economy versus somebody who does? That's the part that I don't understand about him. Yeah. I don't know if you saw a debate that he had with Vivek, where they were talking about DEI. He's for DEI.
Yeah, but DEI,
which defeats the whole purpose of being a capitalist. Why would you be for DEI? Shouldn't it be a merit?
But DEI to me is also like a stupid conversation that I feel like we shouldn't even be having, like, at all. Like DEI should just be like standard. DEI should just be like, and I don't mean like only hire this person because they're Hispanic. No, like if there's seven people applying, and one of them just happens to be a Hispanic, but they're the better choice, then choose that person.
Right.
Like it shouldn't matter. Like, and I feel like that's what most normal people, because politics is so, at least nowadays, it's so extreme, and they shoot everything to like the extreme end, like everybody's doing this or everybody's doing it like this, where it's like, for the most part, it's everybody's in the gray. Like nobody's black, nobody's white. It's just everybody's in the gray area. It's like if
I'm gonna cut you off just because I think that politics became more polarized when Obama was in power. It became kind of like scary when Bush was in power, even though we were babies at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we were kind of connected because of the whole 9/11 situation.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, when Obama came in, he used the race card so many times that he put, and people forget that, which is crazy because I remember that, and I was a kid. I remember
Yeah.
him using the race card as much as possible, and it's like, bro, you're the president. Why are you talking about this? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
shouldn't you be all colorblind? Like, color doesn't matter. MLK vibes, whatever.
but like the people's at that level, when you're a candidate at the American like whole continent level, it's you have to use anything because they're single voters, like single issue voters. I mean, where
Oh yeah. I
So-
have a girlfriend that's like that. Yeah,
I'll vote for him because I'm black and he's black, so I'll vote for him because he's black.
that's not a reason to vote.
100%.
Just
I
don't
agree
vote
with you.
that.
I 100% agree with you. But there's people like that. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The brain is such a fascinating thing because the brain can choose to accept one thing and not choose to accept another thing.
Right.
And maybe some people are just like, oh, you're pro life, cool, me too. Now I'm gonna vote for you.
Right. Yeah. Like one of the things that a lot of people. This is a good example of it. You can be pro-choice when it comes to like your medicine. Like for example, I'm pro-choice when it comes to the vaccine. I am very strongly opposed to it. Right? You could even call me an anti-vaxxer because I just don't agree with vaccination. Period.
But it affects nobody else other than you.
Exactly. But I'm also pro-life because I don't think that you should be ending a child's life.
And that's fine.
You know, and it's like two different. You know what I'm saying?
For me as a man, it's kind of different because I don't know what it's like to get the period or to do like
Right.
to be a woman. You know, to be a woman nowadays is I mean, it was harder back then, but still nowadays it's still hard.
Yeah.
Like
it was a
nowadays
lot
it's
harder
still
back
hard because you get people that are misogynistic, people that like just don't like. There's people that say they don't want to vote for Kamala just because she's a woman, and that's fine. If you want to have that opinion, that's fine. But if you're gonna tell me you're not gonna vote for Kamala, give me some other kind of legitimate reason. Right?
I'll give you one. Aside from, her word salads and
No, yeah, but I'm saying like
she's like,
people
no
that are
plan.
only not voting for her because she's a woman.
But to touch on that, because she's not a mother that has been able, not just a mother, because you can be a mother and foster kids. I'm talking about like a biological mother and being able to know how to raise kids. I would not vote for her because of that.
Okay.
Even Tulsi Gabbard, who I really like, and if she would have gone like far, I would have thought about it. But at the same time, I'm like, you're not a mom, and that's hard because it's like I'm not a mom, but at the same time, I'm like I want to be a mom, right? So if I want to be a mom, I want to vote for somebody who already is a mom.
Yeah, and that's something that like coming from experience, it changes your perspective on everything.
Right.
Like the whole world to me did like a topsy-turvy like 180. Like it just one day to another it was like, okay, well now the rest of my life I'm not even doing it for me, I'm doing it for him. Like everything I do is to give him an opportunity.
Yeah.
And the best possible opportunity that I can give him.
That's why I think if you're going to be a president, you have to be a parent first,
I can see that.
because your perspective is totally different. You're
can see that.
selfless, and you're selfless by force, really.
Yeah.
Some people choose to like have the kid and leave,
True.
Unfortunately, we have those shitty people.
Yep.
But the majority of people stick around because they want to better their kids' lives. They don't want their kids to grow up the same way. I sure as hell don't want my kids to grow up the way we had to grow up.
No, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So
For sure.
that I think that's a reason, which I posted it on Instagram, like, and a lot of people gave me shit for it, like, are you crazy? Like, how can you think like that? But it's true. It makes perfect sense. Like, if you're a mom and you've been raising your kids for X amount of years, then you know what type of future you want for your kids.
Yeah.
So you're gonna know what type of future you want for your country. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah, I can see that. The only, and I'm not saying I don't agree with you. I like to play like devil's
Push back
advocate.
though. Push back.
I like to have that kind of conversation where like even if I agree with you, I still like to give like the other side. So like there's always gonna be that other side where people are just gonna be like, well, I care for my country no matter what, like whether I have kids
True.
or not. Like I care for my country even before I had kids, and that's fine. I can agree with that too, but still having a kid is like such a life-changing moment where it really does, and I can't like, there's no words that can fully explain what it does to your like mentality, at least for me. Like not everybody's gonna get affected like that, but like for me, since I care so much about family, it really like hit home like, yo, I need to work Like I need to go in. I need to do stuff to make possible for him what I want to do. And now I'm not happy with like. I mean, obviously I'm happy, but I wish that I could be able to do more for him.
I mean, you still got time.
No, for sure,
Yeah.
sure. But there's always that like lingering feeling that like I could be doing more. Always.
I'm sure all parents think like that.
For sure, for sure.
You know, that's just. I mean, I'm assuming. I don't know. I'm not a parent yet, right, babe?
It's coming.
Oh my God. He had a dream last night that we had a daughter.
Oh wow.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, what was her name? He doesn't remember the name of the daughter. But then I started thinking, I was like, Maya. I like Maya. I like Hebrew names.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know if you're into past lives,
Yeah.
but there's something about like that Hebrew. I don't know what it is. Maybe I had a life where I was there. Maybe I was
Possibly.
a slave. I don't know. I really feel like, have you ever seen the movie Prince of Egypt?
I don't think
Oh
so.
man, you have to
I
watch that
don't think
movie.
so.
About
You have,
Moses.
you have to watch that movie.
Oh word.
Yeah, that movie's okay. So that's the only biblical movie Disney's ever made, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. Was it Disney? No, it was DreamWorks, right?
DreamWorks.
DreamWorks. Okay.
Hog's in the chat. Hey.
What's up, Javi?
Yo.
So yeah, so that's the only movie they've ever made, and it's about Moses, right? And they
Okay.
did a really good job at explaining it in a way where kids understand.
Okay.
But as an adult, it still hits home.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've seen that movie. I can see that movie once a year traditionally. Me and Laz both, we can connect, but in a different way. Like I connect in the sense of like, first of all, the sister of Moses, her name is Marianne, and my mom did not even know that when she
Wow.
named me. She named me Marianne because the princess in Robin Hood, her name was Marianne.
Oh wow.
That's why she named me that. Not
Interesting.
because of biblical anything. My mom was not Christian, Catholic until she came to this country. Because you know, in Cuba, they didn't
Yeah,
allow
yeah.
you to be any religion. You could only believe in government.
Yeah.
So
It's communism, baby.
yeah,
Yep.
and then so I feel like I was like a slave.
Okay.
So I have this anger inside of me. So when I see like people like use this like oppressive victimhood mentality, shit pisses me off.
Yeah.
And I feel like it stems from like that, but I don't know. I'm just coming up with conclusions. And then Lazaro has this like he thinks that he was like a part of like the Egyptian
Oh cool.
side of it. So I'm technically like in love with my enemy, technically, but whatever. It's okay.
Type
That was
shit.
the
It's okay.
past.
It
We're in the
doesn't
future now.
Yeah, but I rebelled against that shit.
You did because
Hell
he
yeah.
realized that he wasn't actually Egyptian.
Oh word.
That he just
I just didn't believe in what they were doing, like with people. Like I had a whole like fucking past life like regression.
Oh yeah, that's a
during
story.
a trip. I was like, yo, what the?
Can I share that story real quick? Just like a summary of it.
please
Might as
share.
well. I'm on mic. So so in 2020, like, you know, we decided, okay, we need to do something with our lives. Like what we were doing was therapy for kids, and that wasn't what we want to do for the rest of our lives. It takes a toll on you.
Like
emotion-
RBT type stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
RBT. It takes
I
a toll.
studied that.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it because you're helping people, and
Yeah.
that's what we want to do is help people. But that's not the way I want to do it. So you know, I did it for the time. I learned a lot about human nature. So God put me there for a reason. And when 2020 hit, the pandemic hit, we're like, yeah, we need to like
Figure shit out.
do something else, like
Yeah.
be entrepreneurs. Let's fucking create something. Let's manifest something. So then we ended up somehow meeting this couple who connected us with this lady that did past regression.
Okay.
And he's the one I was like kind of skeptical. So Laz is way more spiritual than I am, by the way.
see.
FYI.
Yeah.
So I became more spiritual because of him, even though I've always believed in God.
Okay.
But I wasn't like in depth as he was. So he's the one who brought that out. So when he did it, he had a whole experience where he saw himself as past life in the Egyptian world.
Oh wow.
And then he fled. He pretty much rejected what they were doing, just like Moses. Like realized, like
Word.
this is like bullshit. You guys are enslaving people. You're killing people. I'm not forward
Yeah.
for this. And then he ends up getting assassinated by his own father. Right?
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
So he sees all of this.
I was starting a rebellion with a bunch of slaves.
Yes.
Oh shit.
So he became a rebel. Gets assassinated. Right? He sees this whole thing happen.
It's like a movie.
Yo, I was gonna say that could be a book, bro.
Right? I got you, babe. Let's just let me make mine first, and then we'll work on yours afterwards.
And the crazy part is that before I had that past life regression, I would trip and I would see like pyramids and I would see like
Wow.
Egyptian things and I didn't know what it meant. And I'm like, did I have like a past life in Egypt or whatever? And they say put me under hypnosis, and I was sober at that time when we did that, and I saw all of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
I got my whole name and everything. That shit was crazy.
so after that, we kind of went down like this like rabbit hole of like trying to figure ourselves out spiritually. But
Yeah.
I don't know how we even started having that conversation because I just went off a rant there. But yeah, Laz used to be Egyptian, and I was a slave, and now we're together. But
Maya, you're talking about Maya.
oh, that's
Maya.
right.
That's
Okay.
what you're talking
I
about.
was like, I forgot why we even got into that conversation. All right. So aside from, I do want to continue the economy, but I want to jump on the conversation for today.
For sure.
So I want to hit the Trump assassination attempt.
Okay.
The second one, 2.0.
The sequel's always better. Or not?
You think so?
No, the sequel's always worse.
Yeah.
The-
I was like, no. The first one was more,
Yeah,
more impactful. There was
Yeah, for
blood
sure.
at least. The
For sure,
second
for
one, there
sure.
was no. Thank God, at least.
Well, the second one, the guy is fucking crazy.
Yeah, right.
Ryan Ruth is a fucking weirdo.
There's a video on this, babe. Can you post a video really quick? Second assassination attempt. It's a YouTube video, 23 seconds to 2 minutes and 7 seconds.
This one right here?
Yeah, buddy.
Ron DeSanctimonious.
Ron DeSanctimonious.
My favorite.
Right? People talk so much shit about him, bro. I don't know what's the hate. People are haters. Haters. All right, I'm ready.
With that said, you don't have confidence in the federal government and the weaponized DOJ and their ability to do the job. Tell us why.
Well, first, Sean, we have violations of Florida law, attempted murder. There are also a number of potential violations across multiple jurisdictions. Just as a matter of course, Florida's serious about upholding its laws. When people break them, they face the music. That's just the way we do it. Then you also have this other question, in addition to making sure you throw the book at the suspect and that he serves in jail for the rest of his life, which is the appropriate punishment. How did this happen? Where'd this guy come from? How did he end up in the state of Florida? How did he end up burrowed in those bushes in a part of that golf course perimeter, which is the most vulnerable location when you're playing that
And he was
course?
there for
And
12
I played the
hours.
course when Donald Trump was president. So when security was at its height, I played that course. You have the 5th hole, 6th hole, 7th tee box. That's all right on the tree line that is right in front of a road. And that would be the place that people would do. And yet this guy was able to burrow in there for 12 hours and almost get off a shot. And hats off to the Secret Service agent that engaged him before he was able to do it. But he was in a place where he shouldn't have been. So I think that there's
For
a
a
lot
very
of
long
questions
time.
about that. And the state of Florida, that was not our responsibility. That was obviously the Secret Service's responsibility. So we don't have any agencies that are going to try to pass the buck or anything. We just want to get to the truth, and we want people to know the facts.
The agents around the president were heroic, amazing. I don't have enough positive adjectives to say about them. Sheriff's Department, under your jurisdiction.
That's it.
All right, FYI, as much as we want to say the N-word, YouTube does not allow us to say the N-word.
Unless you're Kai Cenat.
Just giving everybody the heads up. Unfortunately, I did tweet that we should be allowed to say the N-word because it is in most rap music,
Yeah.
and we listen to it.
It's also very used a lot here, man.
It is. That is like, it's like saying bro.
But we're like in a very weird bubble.
Yeah, we are.
We're in a very, very weird bubble. South Florida is completely different to even North Florida.
It is. Because we're like not really the South.
We're like the
We're
South
like
of
the
the South.
South, but not really.
We're North Cuba.
Because, like, people here are just not, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not Georgia.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah. No, that's the Bible Belt.
Like,
That's
we're
the Bible
we're
Belt.
like totally like not the South. We're located south, but we don't act like
It's just
we're
that
the
even our
South.
history is different. Our history it started after like Florida was even a thing. Like our history started in I think like late 1800s where Henry Flagler started making like canals down here, and then that's when people were able to actually come down here. But up until then, it was like Jacksonville, and that's why that's technically still considered part of the Bible Belt because
wild.
because that's where the South like seceded and stuff.
Oh yeah, I went to Jacksonville. Eso está de pinga. Sorry if you guys don't speak Spanish, but I can't translate that in English.
Yeah.
Like it's just bad.
Yeah, no, it's just bad.
Like look up what that word means, and,
Yeah.
and you'll understand Cuban lingo.
Basically fucked.
Yeah, literally, like eso está. Es que hay unos elementos ahí.
Oh yeah. The
I can't say it any other way.
The Canadians in
it's
that area
just-
are just so much.
It's bad. It's
Yeah.
bad. It just looks so dull and gray.
Yeah. I
and-
went there once with my dad to do something for his trucking company. I forgot what it was, but I went there and it was like less than 12 hours that I was up there. No.
Not the vibe.
I went
At
to
all.
Jenny Springs. Jenny Springs was a different story though. But it's
That's not
it's
Jacksonville. Yeah, that's like what, Tampa,
No, it's a little bit further.
Gainesville.
Gainesville.
Yeah.
Gainesville.
I want to go to Guinea Springs.
Jenny Springs is pretty cool.
I freaking love the springs. We went to Juniper Springs, which is
Like right
still
there.
here in Orlando,
Oh
but
word.
it was fire. Imagine Venetian pool, but like real,
Word.
without the waterfall, of course.
Yeah, of
'cause
course.
There's no
There
waterfalls
was a
here.
water mill. That shit was cool.
Yeah, there was a water mill. That was cool. There's no waterfalls. So really quick, put Forbes, the link for Forbes, the way people can.
one?
Yeah, the first one. I'm just gonna read really quick, like
Yeah.
what they got. I like Forbes. I don't care what anybody says. I like Forbes. Do you like Forbes? I like Forbes.
So I have a sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go
I have an app called Ground News, where that's where I get all my news from, and it basically gives me like this is the left, this is the center, and this is the right, and it tells me like
I like.
yeah, I'll show you later. I love it. That's I can't read the news unless it's like that, and I got it recently.
Okay, what is it called? Ground News.
Ground
We're
News.
not plugging them in. There's, there's no
we're not
sponsorship.
sponsored, but hopefully maybe.
Yeah, for real.
Ground News, if you want to sponsor us.
That'd be legit. All right, so Forbes. What is Forbes is right?
I think Forbes is more right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Because honestly, I don't really pay attention to that. I just go with
I mean,
whoever. I'm all about the writing. I like the way people write. If I don't like the way you're writing, I'm not gonna listen.
the
I'm not gonna
verbiage
read
makes
it.
a huge difference.
Yeah, I'm huge on that. All right. So key facts. According to posts from his now deleted X account, why would they delete his account? Isn't that like a little skept?
For right, yeah, but I think that's Elon Musk.
Yeah.
More than
why?
anything.
Yeah. Elon Musk. Why are you doing that? Aren't you pro like free speech? I don't get it.
Yeah.
All right. So Ruth 58 wrote about his willingness to volunteer and fight and die for Ukraine after Russia invaded the country in 2022. All right. So
He
he's
was
like.
in Ukraine.
So he's like a pro-Ukrainian person. All right. So 2023, New York Times interviewed Ruth in a piece about U.S. volunteers in Ukraine where he claimed to have spent several months in the country. Ruth also told the Times he was seeking the recruiter former Afghan soldiers who fled the Taliban to fight alongside the Ukrainians.
Yep.
Wild. He is originally from Greensboro, North Carolina, but he actually has a business in Hawaii
Yeah.
and is a resident in Hawaii. But he voted in Virginia.
I read all his tweets. Like, well, not all of them, but like most of his recent tweets.
Oh, we can get into that because I didn't.
It's
By the
he
time
put
I
his
started-
phone number on there and everything. Yeah, like
Oh,
808
so he was
41
recruiting.
No,
in
no,
X.
he was going in. I mean, was there anybody listening to him? No, but like he was trying.
Wow. People were listening, just
I mean,
we
later.
weren't paying attention.
Exactly, yeah.
The
I mean,
wrong people were the ones
He
listening.
literally added Zelensky and he added Bruno Mars and he was like, "Yo, Bruno Mars,
What do you
let's
mean
make a
added?
song."
Like tagged?
Like tagged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow. Interesting.
It's like Bruno Mars, let's make a song for peace for Ukraine. Like, bro,
Insane.
Bruno Mars not gonna give a fuck about you, dog.
What do we do now about Ruth's support for Ukraine? So now that we're hitting that topic, so supposedly he did a GoFundMe account.
Yeah.
So let me go here. According to the New York Times, we plan to recruit from former Afghan soldiers and use the fake passports purchased in Pakistan to help move them to Ukraine. It is unclear if Ruth acted on this plan, but a former Afghan soldier cited by the Times said he had been contacted and was open to fighting in Ukraine if it allowed him to leave Iran because he was there illegally. Schaefer, who reportedly lived with Ruth, ran a GoFundMe for Ukrainians International Volunteer Center in 2022, where they identified him as her fiance. So he had a fiance who was also a lunatic. On the fundraiser page, which was taken down Sunday night, Schaefer wrote Ruth traveled to Kiev, I never know how to say that. Kiev, okay. In April 2022 and planned to stay there for 90 days. Schaefer also mentioned Ruth arranged for the deliveries of 120 drones to the front lines, although it is unclear if they were funded by the 1,865 raised by her GoFundMe account. What's weird about this guy is that he didn't have an actual job.
No,
so like,
he's-
where the hell did the money come from?
Yeah. it's an interesting one. There's also like huge rumor that's going around that was going around for a couple of days. I don't know if it's been debunked already, but apparently there was some connection between him and the first shooter, where
Oh, interesting.
either he sent money to him or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like I said, I don't know if it's been debunked because I read this a couple of days ago, but there was apparently some kind of like money connection between the two of them. I don't know for sure.
So
I can't
it-
confirm that.
But it sounds like to me is that they were both probably paid off.
I mean, yeah, but what's weird to me is that the first shooter was like, he wasn't. I mean, he was a registered Republican, but he was more like central than anything, because like the way that he donated to I think it was the Democratic Party, but he was a registered Republican or some shit like that. So that's weird. It's a really weird like scenario.
I mean, they could have registered for him and said that he registered.
I mean, he's also 20 years
Anybody
old.
can fake, you
He's
know.
20, so it's like such a young like
Like
mentality.
who the hell registers themselves as a Republican
Well,
at 20 years old?
My history teacher from American history in sophomore year told us to like, she got the paper for us to like apply to vote. Like she registered.
Yeah,
us
but
to
who the
vote.
hell was it actually?
No, yeah, I mean,
That's what I'm saying. Like
not everybody has
she
my kind of
literally
teacher.
would tell you. She went out
Yeah.
of her way to tell you to vote, but you didn't independently
yeah,
say,
no,
I'm gonna register myself to vote.
No, I mean, there's people that some of my friends that registered as Democrat, other that registered as Republican, but I still registered as independent. One of the few
Yeah.
in my class that registered as independent.
Yeah. So most people in your class registered one
As
way or
one,
the other.
yeah.
Interesting how the brain works.
Yeah.
So you're like me.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been independent. I there's always two sides. There's one of my favorite songs of like all time is Logic, Take It Back, and is like, it just goes on about his life and how he was half white, half black. But the most important message is like, there's always two sides to the story.
Yeah.
There's always two
Always two
sides.
sides of the time.
Always two sides. So I can't say that I full-heartedly agree with one side, and I can't say I full-heartedly agree with the other side. Sure, I might vote for one side, but that might be because I don't want the other side, or maybe I vote for this side because I don't want the other side.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
at the end of the day, that doesn't mean that I necessarily agree with everything that this person is saying.
Right. There's a quote. I've always been independent. Like I said, this year is when I decided to affiliate myself to the Republican Party. But there's a quote from what is this show called? Star Wars Clone Wars.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna butcher the quote because I don't remember it verbatim, but it literally says, if you don't pick a side, you're gonna die in the trenches.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because if you think about it, like in the middle of war, it's just a bunch of dead bodies.
But when you think about it, war is like the most extreme, like action that one can
Yeah,
take.
but it's that's politics. So
No,
it's
for
war.
sure. But like, I guess what I'm trying to say by that is that like, since it's such an extreme action, it forces you to have an extreme opinion.
Yeah.
So it's not like think about it this way. Which one was the country that was neutral during World War II? I think it was Switzerland. Even Switzerland was like, had to take actions to stay neutral. It's not like they were like, yo, we're just gonna stay. They had to actively take actions to make sure that like, yo, we don't agree with you, but we also don't agree with you type
Another
shit.
quote.
You found it?
Hit me.
Yeah, when surrounded by war, one must eventually choose a side.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
It's
there you
true.
go. Thank you, Babs.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with it. Like, being independent to me just means you're an independent thinker.
Yeah.
But you're still going to have to pick a side.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't stay in the middle with everything. It
Especially
just
in the
doesn't work
two-party
out.
system that we're in right now.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, if you can't, like, a lot of people say that, like, there shouldn't be a two-party system. What do you think about that? If there's not a two-party system, let's say there's 5, wouldn't that make things even harder and
No,
more
because
complicated?
we would have a different voting system. So the reason that we have a two-party system right now is because of the Electoral College. But if we had a different, which there's states that are doing a different voting system now, where it's what's the right word for it? It's like ranking. It's a ranking voting system where it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then okay, so your number 1 didn't get enough votes, so we'll go for your number 2. And then your number 2 didn't get enough votes, so okay, so we're going for your number 3. And then it'll go off like that. And then there's a good video on YouTube. I can find it, and it'll explain it way better than I ever will. But ranked voting system, in my opinion, it way better than what it is now. And it's because the reason I agree with it so much is because I think it was James Madison, one of our founding fathers, that was like, listen, the way that we're going right now, where it's federalist versus non-federalist, it will cause issues, and it did. I mean, the Civil War happened,
it's
and
still
it's still happening.
it's still
now to
causing
this day.
issues. Yeah.
Like the Electoral College was made solely because it was really hard to get information from South Carolina to New York, and New York was our capital back then.
Right.
So like to get the Electoral College like working, you needed to get all the popular votes from South Carolina or whatever the furthest down South country was or state was, and then move all that information to New York, which is a dangerous trek because there was no cars. It was all horse. So.
Right.
Because of that, Electoral College, yes, it makes sense, but we live in 2024.
But if it's a ranking system, you're relying on only people's votes. Then it's not really a republic at that point,
No, it's more of a democracy.
right? I don't trust people, but people are stupid.
Well, yeah, but
I'm sorry, guys,
But
but you know,
you would
a lot of people aren't smart.
you would hope and had some kind of faith in humanity where more people would want to do better good than more bad, right? So yeah, sure, the fascists, the racists, they're always going to exist, and they're always going to have their extreme ideas and ideology, but I feel like they're going to be lesser so than the people that want to do actual good.
But isn't that the whole point of us? Isn't like I understood it in the sense of like America's, you know how like we call each other, or they say that we are the shining star on the hill.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that means like we're supposed to be different from any other country in the world. And other countries are democratic,
Well, they try to copy
they're-
us.
right? But they still have a democratic.
Yeah, they still have a constitution and stuff like that, but we were
But
the
it's
ones that made it.
nowhere near our constitution.
No,
their
because-
government still owns their asses.
We were OG. We were the OG.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a reason why our constitution has lasted 200 plus years.
Which is not a lot
It
in the grand scheme of
absolutely not.
things.
Absolutely, time is such a crazy thing to think
And
about.
we were talking about that the other day. It's crazy.
We live closer to Cleopatra than the pyramids,
That's crazy.
and the pyramids. I guess I didn't really explain it that well because Cleopatra was what, like 2,000 years ago. The pyramids were like almost 5,000 years ago.
Way before, maybe even more.
Maybe
Yeah.
more. Yeah, we don't really know.
So like, time is
And the
so.
Sphinx. And the
What is
Sphinx
time?
Even older.
Even older.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like time is such a and Cleopatra like to me you talk about Cleopatra and it's like, yeah, that's ancient history, but then a couple like a dozen years ago it wasn't that ancient. It was I mean it was still history but not as ancient as it is
As
now.
it is now, exactly. That's why I'm saying like, I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to fix. Obviously, we're still a baby compared to like the rest of the world. I don't think we were in adolescent times. I think we're like in like not toddler, but not adolescence. We're like kind of in
Yeah, we're like
between.
juvenile, I'd
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
We're like
right.
juvenile.
We're like there. So
We're
there's a
like
lot.
13, 14 where it just hit
Exactly.
teenager. Yeah.
So there's still a lot we need to learn. Obviously, we're still extremely rebellious, but the idea of being like a democracy like every other country, I don't think is the wave, because we would just be like every other country.
Well,
Isn't that like the point of America is to be different?
yeah, but the beauty of our constitution is that like we can always take away and add to it. Obviously,
But it's nobody does that. We've never
the
added
amendments,
to
Roe
it.
v. Wade. Roe v. Wade got overturned.
But that's not in the Constitution. That's the law.
Yes, but the Constitution is what allowed it to, because the Constitution made the Supreme Court, and
Right,
the Supreme Court
yes.
is, I'd say, more powerful than the president.
Oh no, it is.
100%.
It is the law of the land.
100%. So, for example, Donald Trump added 3 judges to the Supreme Court.
That shit.
That's extreme.
Changed.
That's extreme power.
Yeah, that
Extreme
changed
power.
everything.
I mean, Roe v. Wade wouldn't have gotten overturned if it wasn't for his 3 judges, and his 3 judges are still fucking us up. They're still fucking us up because student debt. I think they denied.
Yes, they did.
Which is like,
We could talk about that.
I can see both sides.
'Cause I
of
agree
that.
with them denying it. We could talk about that.
I can see both sides. The thing is that like I'm not in a position to say this is the right way, this is the wrong way, but because I don't know what specifically made them do that decision. If they were to tell me like this is like, and be legit about it, be honest about it, right? Like if you tell me, hey, I didn't want to go outside because it's raining. Okay, you told me there's a reason, it's raining. But if you told me I don't want to go outside, period, why? And like, yeah, sure, they'll say like, oh yeah, because of the economy, because of this and other thing, but like, they don't give me like cold hard facts of like, look, this is the exact reason why I denied it.
But didn't they say that the reason why they denied it is because there was no standing for him to even have done it? That was their reason. Which is a legal reason behind it. He didn't have standing to do it.
Yeah,
It's not our fault that people decided to go into debt.
They need to understand that there's also the other side, which is that there's real people getting hurt on the other side. Like there's real people that are in debt that trusted our education system to have a good education and then essentially got scammed. Like imagine getting scammed out of hundreds of thousands of dollars for a paper that, like, yeah, sure, you have your knowledge, but if I can't go out there, yeah, exactly. I can't go out there and use my certificate to get a job now, because the job market, at least nowadays, is fucked.
Yeah, most employers don't really care about that.
Every day there's more and more layoffs.
Yeah.
Every day, thousands and thousands and thousands, and it's still gonna get worse. So there's a specific rule called I think it's the SOM rule that uses unemployment to judge whether we're in a recession or not. Technically, according to that rule, we've been in a recession since 2023, but the government doesn't want to say that we're
So
in a recession.
Bidenomics doesn't work, is what you're saying?
I can't blame it on just Biden. It's been a work in progress for a couple of years. Like before that,
You said earlier that what Obama did was precedent, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
bailing out banks,
Yeah.
they should have just let the shit crash.
Mhm.
Isn't this the same thing? You can't bail out student loans. It's the same concept
kind of.
in a way, not the same, but you know what I mean.
The thing is that 2008 happened and they had more tools available to them. So they had more answers to the stock market going down. But what the difference now is that they used their last resource to keep the roller coaster going up, right? So now they're out of tools. So when the crash happens, they can't bring down interest rates because, yeah, sure, they brought down interest rates, but interest rates are still historically low. Like compared to the 1970s, compared to the 1980s, compared to the 1990s, it's low as fuck. Like 5%, well now it's like 4.75. It's still really low. Like that's, and a low interest rate does not equal, and this is something that people get confused all the time. Low interest rate does not equal good economy. Low interest rate means bad economy. In 2020, when they brought down interest rates, the economy crashed. Why? Because they realized that people needed money, and the reason that they needed money is because they weren't working. So there's a huge demand for cash, but it's really hard to get cash because it's expensive to get cash. So what did they do? They made it less expensive to get cash. So now the money gets flooded into the system. So it's kind of like people really misjudge it. People will say like, oh yeah, since interest rates are going up, it means that it's a bad economy. But in reality, that just means that there's more competition. There's more people that are willing to pay more for their cash and are willing to lend more now. But there's companies nowadays that are in super debt, like super
Yeah.
debt.
Yeah, isn't that aren't those companies called like ghost companies
Well, I mean, there's companies in the S&P
or
500.
zombie companies?
Yeah,
Something
and
like
they exist too, but there's companies in the S&P 500 that are just littered with debt. Like most of the companies in the S&P 500 are littered with debt.
But isn't that what Robert Kiyosaki talks about? Like he's like, I'm in debt.
Yeah, well, so Thomas Jefferson said the same thing. Thomas Jefferson agreed that debt to a certain degree is good, but right now we're at 35 trillion as a country.
Deficit is freaking crazy.
That's wild. That's absolutely wild, and there's multiple reasons for that. This is why I say that.
So because the debt is that bad, it makes sense for them to have said, no, we're not gonna freaking allow you to bail them out. That's only gonna make things so much worse.
So
that makes logical sense.
Yeah, but like that's why I say that's one of their tools that they had, but they already wasted it. They wasted that tool.
Okay, I understand.
And that's one of the tools that they wasted on the way here. So we are already at the end where like I really don't see what else they could possibly do to continue to hold the stock market up, because inflation is still rampant. No matter what they say, inflation is still rampant worldwide, not even in the US, worldwide. Yeah, sure, it's come down from its peak, but it's still growing. And we need to go through a deflation period, which in 2008, inflation was actually negative, but that's because the banks were starting to crash, which means that money was leaving the system. But now it's just money always entering the system at all times because we're addicted to it. The banks are addicted to money. It was so free to them that it's like, okay, I need another hit. I need another hit to get money.
So are you saying that we need to like, what's that? What is that when somebody's addicted and you kind of like take away the
Like
drug?
cold turkey type stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how effective that might be, just because the economy is kind of like if you cut it cold turkey, it'll cause some really bad times for everybody, because it's still very necessary to have some cash infusion, like some.
Right.
Obviously not like the massive that was going on back
Right.
then, but there's still some legitimate, like, trustworthy banks. Like, you can put money in a credit union and that's fine,
Right.
but putting money into these big banks is less risky now. But just because, who was it that said banks are too big to fail? Whoever that guy was,
That's a lie.
no,
I mean-
no, that's the truth right now. It's
think
the truth
so? You
for
think
sure.
banks are too big
but
to fail?
I say that as a bad thing.
I
Banks
mean,
are
they're only too big to fail if the government bails them out.
Yeah, exactly. But their mentality for saying that is because they have so much money, they have so much assets in that if they
Okay.
fail, it'll systematically
Yeah.
just destroy us.
Yeah, I understand.
So it's like, yeah, I agree with you, but you guys let it get to that point. And
I say let it all burn, bro.
For sure,
And
I mean-
whoever can survive it, you
most
know.
of our generation are like that.
Who's what's that mentality? What scientist says that? Is that Darwin?
Oh yeah.
What is that he says?
Survivalism.
Yeah,
Survival of the fittest.
survival of the fittest. Yeah, like
Yeah.
whoever. I'm totally for it. Let that shit crash and burn, and whoever can come out of it, fantastic. I mean, we went through a Great Depression more than once. It was twice.
I mean, we're kind of going through a silent depression now.
So
Wages
yeah.
haven't gone up and everything else has gone. Or sorry, yeah, wages haven't gone up and
Yeah.
everything else has gone up.
Right.
Right now, to pay for a mortgage for a house, it's like 4.5 times your salary, which is
Yeah, we have a friend
ridiculous.
who freaking, like, her parents bought a house, a townhouse, not even a house, a townhouse for like $400,000. A townhouse.
yeah,
I was like, what?
yeah.
Was it 400? No, I'm lying. It was $500,000 and some change. That's not what a townhouse was worth.
There's multiple reasons for that. There's obviously depends on where they were, but what's happening a lot now is
It
that
was in Homestead.
yeah. Proves my
Like,
point.
it's supposed to be cheap.
It proves my next point perfectly. So there's big banks that are buying certain homes. So
Is that what? We're talking about BlackRock? Are they talking about BlackRock?
all the banks,
And Lennar and all these
the
motherfuckers?
conglomerate of banks, all of them combined are all doing it. They're all doing it because they see the value that they're doing and they're inflating their own value by doing this. So what they do is that they see a neighborhood and they see that there's no houses being sold except for one. They sell that one house for a ridiculous price. That brings the value of the entire neighborhood up. Because what gives you the value of your house, yeah, sure, it's what's inside your house, like what the house is.
Right.
But your neighborhood
Your-
sets the biggest
Yeah.
like value
Yeah,
for it.
location is everything.
Location is everything, and even if it's like a tiny apartment this big, if they sold the apartment next door for 500 grand, guess what? Yours is going to be about the same.
Yeah.
And banks have been overinflating that market completely because they buy it and then they rent it, and America has turned into a completely renters market.
I wonder if the reason why this is gonna go totally south. So just get used to this, me just going south. I wonder if the reason why people are so anti-Semitic right now is because of banks. Because of this, like, oh, the majority of banks are owned by Jews, and that's why, like, you know, we have like this like a negative perception of banks because of the history of what banks have done in this country. And because we've been fed that the majority of banks are owned by Jews, there's this anti-Semitic. Because I've literally met people that literally have
Yeah.
told me I hate Jews because they own the majority of banks,
I can see that. That's
which is
definitely-
not 100% true because you're generalizing.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like a group of people.
There's other people that are involved in that.
Exactly.
And you don't know if the person that's pulling the trigger is even like.
For all that you know, it could be they could be Christian, Catholic,
yeah,
Muslim.
exactly.
It doesn't matter.
It could be the same type of person as you, and you
Exactly.
have no idea
Yep.
because you don't know who actually pulled that trigger. You don't know who said, "Okay, yeah, do it." Sure,
Insane.
it might have come from the top, yeah, sure, but it might have been somebody from the bottom saying like, "Hey, I think this is a good idea."
You know, there's a documentary that only has one season for a reason because, you know, it's, I guess they don't want you to know everything. So it's called The Men Who Built America.
Okay.
and it's on Amazon Prime, and it's J.P. Morgan,
Okay.
Carnegie,
Word.
what's this other guy's name? The guy who did the oil, Rockefeller,
Rockefeller.
and Ford. But we don't know much about Ford because it's in the second season. They haven't brought it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just Carnegie, Rockefeller, and J.P. Morgan. So Rockefeller and Carnegie are hustlers.
Mm-hmm.
They made it from the mud, literally. And I didn't even know that the majority of the metal that was created in this country was Carnegie metal. I didn't know that. I was like,
is
oh shit.
a cornerstone of our history.
I did not like the majority of New York is Carnegie metal.
All of our bridges.
I was like,
It's wild. And Rockefeller with the oil.
Rockefeller, yeah, that guy was a hustler too.
That guy came from literally
Nothing.
From
Yes.
nothing. That guy to me is like he's my hero.
And
That
then,
guy's
but a lot
nuts.
of people have a bad
Yeah. There's
connection.
there's some bad things, but there's bad things about everybody.
everybody exactly.
There's bad things about everybody.
But
Everybody has
J.P.
their-
Morgan, that guy's always had money. He came from elites.
And he worked. I think it was with either one or the other. I don't know if it was Carnegie or Rockefeller, but
He worked with Carnegie.
there you go.
He made Carnegie like the richest man
Mm-hmm.
like on earth at the time. And he was the one who bailed out the government when the Great
Yep.
Depression happened. I did not know that.
Yep.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So banks have been bailing out for like then banks were bailing us
That's a
out.
very
Now
American thing to do.
governments are bailing them out. So they've had this fascist relationship for
Yeah.
a very long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That's why people say, oh, like, we don't really have fascism in this country. I'm like, yeah, we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And we've been having it for a long
We
time.
have some kind of fascism for sure.
I actually wanted to hit, this is, again, nothing compared to what we're talking about.
No,
I
exactly.
am going to go back to economy.
For sure.
But I want to talk really quick about January 6th because it's needed.
I
Babe,
agree.
Yeah.
there's an update. I don't know if you know about it. There's an update on January 6th. I put the YouTube video first. It's 50 seconds to 2 minutes and 21 seconds. And then I'm going to get to the transcript. They have a new update on January 6th. When I was saying that January 6th was an inside job, nobody believed me. But to this, I'm still considered Alex Jones' email version. Let's go.
About 20 minutes before a mandatory curfew started Monday night,
That's
federal
Black Lives
officers and
Matter.
National Guard
Right,
troops
right,
outside the
right
White
there.
House suddenly moved on peaceful protesters, hitting them with flash grenades and tear gas while shooting rubber bullets.
I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Stunning
That's
images
J6.
as rioters
Yeah,
supporting
yeah, yeah.
President
I
Trump
watched that whole
overrun
thing
the
the whole day.
Capitol, scuffling with police. On the floor of
Look
the
at the
House,
difference.
officers with guns drawn, with protesters just outside the door. Here you see rioters trying to break down a door, and you hear a gunshot.
But we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you.
See, I don't agree with him saying that.
It was strange because it was almost like
This
there
lady needs to get
was
fired.
this call to
Se va a pegar a ti,
sports. Had it been the same amount of people, but had they been black, we wouldn't have made it up those steps. We
know what I'm
wouldn't have
saying?
made it to be able to get into
The
the,
race
door
card.
and bust windows and go put our feet up on desks of Congress members. We wouldn't have made it that far. We would have been shot. We would have been tear gas. We would rubber bullets. That would have happened before we made it there. We need to call it what it is. It's white supremacy. It was white privilege, and it was the cause
That's not the
of
right angle
our
to attack
president.
that, though.
Nope.
This morning, a lot of questions
good.
are still
Nobody cares about her mask ass. All right, so check this out. This is a new update that the Pentagon just rolled out. Hold on, I have it actually here. I just put the link there that people can see it, and I'm going to the Pentagon link, and I'm gonna. Yeah, it's a transcript. A chat.house.gov transcript. Yeah, that. All right. Yeah. So this is just like a bit of it. They're not gonna see the actual transcript because you have to actually go and download the document, and I downloaded it. So I'm gonna read really quick what's going on here. So General Mark Milley, Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff. So January 3, 2021. The president just says hey, look at this. There's going to be a large amount of protesters here on the 6th. Make sure that you have sufficient National Guard or soldiers to make sure it's a safe event. All right, that's what he said that Donald Trump said. All right. And then another one. Hey, I don't care if you use guards or soldiers, active duty soldiers, do whatever you have to do. Just make sure it's safe. All right. Christopher Miller, remember that name, acting Secretary of Defense. The president commented that they were going to need 10,000 troops the following day. I interpret it as a bit of presidential banter or President Trump banter that you are familiar with, and in no way, shape, or form did I interpret this as an order or direction. So se hizo loco. On January 6, 2021, everyone was like, did you listen to the president's speech? I'm like, the guy speaks for 90 minutes. It's like Castro or something. No, I've got work to do. That's him, Christopher Miller. Again, I was cognizant of the fears that the president would invoke the Insurrection Act to politicize the military in an anti-democratic manner, and just before the Electoral College certification, 10 former secretaries of defense signed an op-ed piece published in the Washington Post warning of the dangers of politicizing and using inappropriately the military. No such thing was going to occur on my watch. Okay? There is absolutely no way I was putting the U.S. military forces at the Capitol, period. The operational plan was this. Let's take the D.C. National Guard, keep them away from the Capitol. Chief Stephen Sund, that's the Capitol Police. He did an interview with Tucker. I'm making an urgent request for the National Guard. We are being overrun. This is when it was already happening. I gave a quick rundown of what we had going on, and that officers out there are fighting for their lives. We were about to be taken over. The representative from Secretary of the Army said, I don't like the optics of the National Guard standing in line with the Capitol in the background. I explained to them that the building is being breached. I need their assistance immediately. And then my recommendation to the Secretary of the Army is not to support the request. He did this 6 times. And there was hours in between when there was absolutely no response. And transcript is literally like what was going on, what they were saying, which look how long it took them just to show us this freaking transcript. And this is just one of them. It's like 900 something pages of it, just like Project 2025.
What I see from that is like what I'm interpreting is that like he didn't want to politicize so much the issue. Like he was thinking about it too much as a political like good thing or bad thing. As in like, because what really sold that to me was when you read the that he didn't want the National Guard in front of the Capitol
because of optics. But it doesn't make sense.
That doesn't
because
make any
you
sense.
did it for Black Lives Matter and Antifa. So why aren't you gonna do it with this?
But on the Capitol, was that on the Capitol
Yes,
too?
it was on the Capitol.
That doesn't.
It was literally, I don't know if there's pictures of it. There's on Black Lives Matter riots, they had soldiers.
Oh yes, I know the picture you're talking about.
Standing, just like posted up there on the Capitol, but you couldn't do that during January 6th because of optics.
Yeah.
This sounds like bullshit.
I mean, yeah, but I also see the other side where Trump was there for hours, and the one part that really irks me about that day is when he said, "We love you." That part to me just really like, I wouldn't say that I love somebody that is trying to hurt one of our most precious things in our country, which is our capital. If like, it doesn't matter whether it was him or not him, at the end of the day, they're still doing that. I can't say that I support you or that I love you because look at what you're doing to my house. Like, I can't. That part to me is where I can't agree with that. I can't. I don't like that he said that. He should have answered more promptly for sure, and he should have chosen his words more carefully. Which he might have chosen his words.
But when have you ever heard him actually choose his words carefully?
And that's my biggest problem with him.
Like, that's not a thing that he does. He's not a politician.
That's why. That's why.
You know,
you can say certain things, but like stay in your lane, I guess, type shit. Where like.
But he wouldn't be Donald Trump if he did that, would he? You know, if you think about it.
I mean,
that's his character. You know, that's like me saying I shouldn't be loud and obnoxious. That's part of my character.
But the way that I see it is kind of like he kind of like said it was okay for it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, but think about it. I mean, they suppressed. I still think that they cheated. And not in the way that people think. I think they cheated on purpose by suppressing information that shouldn't have been suppressed.
For sure, and that might have
That's
happened.
one easy way to cheat right there.
I don't deny that. That could have for sure happened. To me, it's more like Al Gore lost popular vote. Or, sorry, won the popular vote, lost the electoral vote.
Yeah.
Still conceded. Hillary Clinton, for as bad as she is, won the popular
These
vote.
are all politicians.
Lost the electoral. Yeah, I understand, but they still conceded.
Yeah.
It's the cornerstone of the transfer of power. If you lost, and the court says you lost, bro. Like, you should not have to fight it. You should not have to say, like, there's people that don't interpret what he said on that day as insightful towards violence. I can't say towards one way or another because I am not in the type of mentality where since I'm not an extremist in any kind of way, I can't see myself like agreeing or disagreeing with him to that extent. But like, there's some people that could see what he's saying as insightful towards violence, for sure.
But to call it an insurrection, that's like super wrong.
I think they're only calling it an insurrection because he took so long to answer.
But an insurrection, like, people don't even know what like, if you look up the word insurrection, you need to have weapons.
Yeah, I
to
mean,
call that
but
an
they had
insurrection.
weapons. There's some people that had weapons on there. They came like with weapons on the vicinity.
But most of them did not have weapons.
Yeah, no, for sure. But there's still some that did.
The only people that died was the cop. And the cop didn't die there. They had a heart attack afterwards, and there's no actual facts that it was because of it. And then it was the girl that got shot by the cop there.
Yes.
So like, you can't call that an insurrection when people didn't fucking die. Like, the fact that this like lady who claims she's black, like, I'm blacker than she is, but whatever, that's neither here. I told Lazar, I'm gonna identify myself as a black person if this chick is black. She literally said, "Oh, January 6th is like civil war." What? Are you insane? Thousands of people died during Civil War.
The rhetoric that I can see that can compare it towards Civil War is that it's the most aggressive attack on our capital since the Civil War, for sure.
Yeah,
yes.
but
yeah, no, it's not. I mean,
but even then, you still can't.
And that kind of rhetoric is very dangerous, very, very dangerous.
But they're doing that on purpose.
Yeah, but both sides are doing them.
So it's like, I don't know. I feel like if you're going, Tech is on the Democrat side. And he admitted it this year by saying that they told me to suppress information during COVID.
For sure.
And they suppressed the whole Hunter Biden laptop story. So it's like, if Tech is on your side, then we have a really big problem. That's why Elon Musk bought X.
I think the biggest problem we have in the U.S. right now is accountability.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If we hold people accountable, shit like that won't happen. Big Pharma wouldn't be a thing. Big Tech would not be a thing. These kind of politicians where I don't agree with either one of them. Like,
do you think that he should be indicted if you want to talk about accountability? Because I don't.
He should have some kind of responsibility because, like I said, he at the end of the day said that he loves them, and he took a really long time to say something.
But so Pelosi was the one that was in charge of it, and she was the one who denied them the National Guard.
They were there because of him.
Oh yeah, of course.
So she could.
But she was in charge of preventing it from happening.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So it's really easy to blame him instead of blaming other people that were involved in that.
It's both of their faults. One because she could have prevented it, but the other one, sorry. The other one because like Trump is also like, in my opinion, responsible just because. At the end of the day, they're there for him.
He's the face.
Like, he's the face of them. Like, yeah, sure, but she can say whatever it is. Me cagan tu madre, me cagan tu padre, en aquel hijo de santo, no me importa. They won't care. They won't care because at the end of the day, they're there for him. If he, from the very beginning, would have been like, hey, stop this shit now. This is horrible. This is abhorrent. This is something that should not be happening in our country. And this is something that should be stopped right now. And nip it in the butt right from the very beginning, then I would have agreed with you.
But there are people that didn't actually do anything wrong, and they still got arrested for it. There's a lady that came out on Kill Tony, an older woman. She's in her 60s. She went to the Capitol. She just walked in there like if it was a tour. She didn't even know that she wasn't even allowed to do that because they allowed you in, first of all. So that's another reason why it's like, bro, you're going to tell me it's not an inside job? If you know that it's illegal, why are you even allowing that to even happen in the first place? And then on top of that, they're arresting people that didn't actually commit any actual crimes aside from trespassing. So it makes you question, like, what are we talking about? And the people that actually did do stuff, like during the whole Black Lives Matter movement, they got bailed out.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But that's why I say like accountability on both sides.
It's like
Accountability on both sides should definitely be a thing.
like the people that broke like stuff, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the writers.
You
The
destroyed
writers.
you destroyed private property, but the people that were just like walking in there,
I guess it
like,
depends on how much they indicted them, because there's always the whole of like you should be aware of your surroundings type stuff. If your surroundings are in a violent surrounding, and sure, you might have just walked in, but everybody else around you is doing like something violent or
there's people that weren't even there that got freaking the Proud Boys. They weren't there.
oh
and they
yeah,
got,
no, but the Proud Boys
and
are
they got indicted too.
the Proud Boys should definitely get indicted for whatever it is that they did.
What are they? They're like
The Proud
Ku Klux,
Boys are-
they're like the new Ku Klux
Yeah.
Klan or whatever.
Yeah, no, the Proud Boys are a very, very dangerous group.
They
Very dangerous.
There's a lady who what's her name? Starts with a C. She's a white woman. She was super she was a part of the campaign for Donald Trump in 2016. She literally told Vivek, "I'm not gonna vote for you because you're Indian."
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
I
don't
forgot
know
her name.
but I have her face in my brain.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that she's on that
Yeah.
that part of the spectrum.
Yeah.
That's like hardcore white supremacy right there.
Yeah, for sure.
But you have a right to be that. Like
No,
this is
yeah,
America.
exactly. No, for
just
sure.
like Black Lives Matter movement.
It's freedom of speech, but even freedom of speech has like its limitations, right? Like there's a certain level where there's certain things that aren't okay. So freedom of speech has its limitations where if you're in school, for example, and you're talking about shooting up the school, yeah, sure, you have the freedom of speech. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, right.
But you're gonna get surveilled to fuck.
Exactly.
You're gonna there's gonna be FBI, all that shit, or at least there should be on your ass, like because you said this shit, like you said it, like you didn't think about it, you said it.
There's a guy who's a libertarian, part of a really big known libertarian. He said, and I'm gonna quote him because I screenshotted that because I was like, whoa, like to me that's you have to have courage to post that, but he got away with it because he posted it on X. He wouldn't have been able to post that on Instagram. Oh my God, where is it? It's here somewhere. He literally talked about Kamala Harris. Pretty much saying, where is it?
What's it called? What is it?
It's I sent it to somebody and I'm trying. I found it. All right. I'm not saying this. I'm quoting what somebody else says. YouTube. All right. I'm just Libertarian Party said anyone who murders Kamala Harris would be an American hero.
That's
FBI FBI knocks on his door. Quote unquote FBI. They never really showed their FBI badges. He recorded them. That shit went viral on X. But it's like, like you're allowed to say that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
He wasn't inciting violence.
No, I mean, to a certain extent, depends on.
Because he didn't say she should die.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I say to a certain extent.
He said anyone
Yeah.
who does it is an American
It's just dangerous
hero.
rhetoric.
It is.
It's just dangerous rhetoric.
But I think to me it was more dangerous if you're literally saying, I'm going to be the one to
for
do
sure,
this.
for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why there's a limitation to freedom of speech, and there should be, because like another example of freedom of speech is you can't burn the flag.
Right.
You can't.
Wait, isn't that you can't or you can? I think you can burn the flag.
Yes.
That's part of freedom of speech.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, you can burn the
you
flag.
can, and there's a very big thing in the Supreme Court. That's what I was misremembering. Yes.
Yeah, you can. That tells you right there. You can burn the flag because it's a symbol.
Yep.
I mean, to me that can mean like I'm destroying the establishment by burning this flag.
Oh, you know what I was thinking of? The dollar. You can't deface the dollar.
Oh.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that.
But the dollar is different. The dollar is. I mean, it's still a symbol, I guess, because it's a different
If
status.
anything is more symbolic. There's a lot of things in that dollar.
Yeah.
There's the freaking pyramid with the eye. There's
Yeah.
God we trust.
Which is
there's
weird
a
because
lot.
there's a separation of church and state.
Is there really?
There should be.
But
our speaker is
there
not.
isn't.
Our speaker is definitely not separated from church and state.
But I never believed that there really was. The founding fathers were deists.
Yeah, but
You know?
they definitely tried their best to keep like their beliefs out of it to a certain
To an extent.
To an extent.
But it's like, how can you? That's
Yeah.
part of your whole like. That's
Because
part of
religion
morality.
exactly. Religion is
So
part
it's
of religion makes morality, and
Exactly.
that comes from. Like, I'm agnostic. I believe in
Okay.
a higher power, but I don't think that there's like there might be one single God for sure, but I can't. Like, I'm very logical, like factual. Like, I need to see. Like,
Do you believe good and evil? Do you
for
believe
sure,
okay.
yeah. But I also believe that there's some good and some evil in everybody.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like, yeah, you might be
Yeah. Oh yeah.
fully evil, but there's some good things inside of you. Just like you might be fully good, but there's still some evil things
Right.
inside of you.
Yeah. I mean that's yin and yang. That's
It's
a balance.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yin yang.
For sure.
That's
I just don't. I mean, I'm actually gonna have that conversation with my best friend about it because, like, she believes that too. That like politicians shouldn't put their religion in
at
there.
all.
But it's like,
Yeah, but
you know,
that's where the democratic part of it comes into play, because like it should be us as a democracy that has enough morale and morality where we choose the morally good or the morally best candidate from what
From
we can
all-
pick
yeah.
from we can pick up.
Right.
The problem is that with our two-party system, it goes back to that, like, what kind of choice do we have between shit and shit?
Republicans are what? Like Republicans are mainly religiously. They're more like
Yeah.
Judeo-Christians and Catholics.
Yeah, exactly.
And then on the Democrat side, Jews also are Republican for the most part. Some of
Yeah.
them are actual Democrats
Yeah,
too.
well, it's kind of changing
But-
nowadays.
yeah.
And there's a theory that the Republican Party like switched with the Democratic Party, because like, for example, Jefferson was Republican, but I'm pretty sure that nowadays he would align more with the Democratic Party.
I mean, Kennedy is a perfect example.
Yep.
He would align more with the Republican Party
Yep.
right now. So
Yep.
yeah, 100%. But no, what Democrat now is considered, I would consider the Democratic Party atheist, Muslim, because there's a lot of Muslims that are Democrat for
Yeah.
some fucking reason when they're
It's
really
because
conservative. It makes sense.
they want to present themselves as the broad tent, like.
All the spiritual witchery shit, that's all Democrat.
To them, they just want to be like as inclusive as possible, like make the tent as big as possible, which has its benefits in a two-party system, but it also has its negatives.
It's a huge downfall because you don't
It's-
believe in anything.
Yeah, there's no uniting
Yeah, no,
factor.
there's-
It's all like, yeah, I believe in this and I believe in that. But that's where I think like democracy at its core should be like, yes, the people itself choose the morally best choice. And if you think that I'm the morally best choice because I say these things and I say, like, for example, hold me accountable, if I say something and it's wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
I think it will change when we get older.
When our generation takes over.
Yeah,
For sure.
I think it will change
I've always
because
said that.
most millennials think like us in that sense. And at the end of the day, even though you don't agree with the electoral college, we vote on who gets on the electoral college.
Yeah.
And the only reason why the electoral college doesn't work right now is because we're not voting on it.
Yeah,
It's-
well,
the boomers are voting on it.
It's not even that. The electoral college should always go based off what the state went off.
Right,
But
exactly.
sometimes the state just picks whatever. So there's actually a case against Trump right now. I think it's in Arizona, if I remember correctly, where they sent somebody from the Trump administration sent the electoral people to vote for Trump when it should have been the Democrats, because the state Arizona won the Democratic Party that state, and they should have been the ones to go vote, but they sent the Republicans.
Isn't that a blue state technically?
Arizona? I can't remember off the top. I feel like yes, it is.
It's becoming a swing state right now.
It's becoming a swing state
but it's
now.
mainly blue.
But I think Trump technically won that in 2020, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong about that. I'm not sure.
I don't remember because I was in Colorado and I remember when Biden won, I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I didn't vote, but I was expecting him to win. I was like, oh, we're gonna be fine. He won.
Yeah.
And he didn't win, and I was like, "Oh well, this is gonna be a very strange 4 years." We were leaving because we were there right before, and we were leaving, going to Denver. I kid you not, we saw like a bunch of trannies with billboards.
Oh, you told me about this. Yes.
Trans for Biden.
Yes.
That's what me and Laz were like. Yeah, this is not gonna be a good 4 years.
Yeah.
Like we just felt it. We're like, this is not gonna be a good 4 years.
That
was a symbol of what the 4 years were gonna look like. Just looking at that for a couple seconds.
It definitely felt like a juke, like a psych.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because like there's a lot of things that they got promised.
Flip your way.
Like this.
Like that, yeah. 'Cause for some reason it sounds weird.
Oh, word, my bad.
No, you're good, my fault.
So what was I saying?
juke.
Oh yeah, it felt like a juke because like a lot of the things that he said that he wanted to do didn't get done, and like
I mean, he did some of it. He could have just
for
didn't
sure,
do all of it.
for sure, and some of it lands on the House, Mitch McConnell,
Bro,
fucking
the House didn't let him do anything.
exactly nothing.
So
But
it's
the same
like,
thing. The same thing happened with Obama. The same
And
thing.
they had a
The
majority-
Green Tea Party, I think it was. That,
I actually fuck with the Tea Party though.
yeah.
Thank God for the Tea Party. Ted
what's his-
Cruz was a part of it. Ron Paul was a part of the Tea Party.
Isn't that Jill Stein now, or is that the Green Party?
Oh, I don't
It might
know.
be a different party.
You're talking about the Green Party. I'm talking about the Tea.
Green, yes.
Party.
No, I know. But
okay.
I sometimes I get them confused. Jill Stein, I fuck with her, heavy.
Hold on.
Jill Stein,
Let me look.
very independent.
Because I need to see your
She's
face.
she's
to
a
be
third
able-
party. If she would get more votes, she would have my vote. Honestly.
Jill Stein.
By the way, is the mic better?
Politician.
Honestly, I don't know why it sounds like that.
Should I stick it down my throat?
Yeah.
Give it a Glock 3000?
You do what you like.
Ah,
but-
I'm not gonna lie to you. She looks like a liberal
Yeah, well,
just by looking at her.
she's very independent.
As
She's
judgmental as that sounds.
she's not like on either side.
Green Party of the United States.
I get them confused.
Okay, gotcha.
But she's not on the party that I was thinking of.
But she's definitely voting for. You can definitely tell she's voting
Well,
for Harris.
she's her own party. She's like a third party.
Yeah, but you can tell she's voting
Oh,
for
bro, I
Harris.
mean for sure.
You can tell just by look. It's crazy how you can tell these things. You can tell this lady is voting for the commie. Chicago? Oh yeah, for sure. She was born in Chicago.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah, dude, she's independent. Maybe like
But I agree with a lot of things she
image.
says.
What did she say?
It's some of the things that I've been saying now, like just
She looks like she's very environmental.
She's-
What part of the house is she in? She's House or she's Senate?
no, she's her own. That's what I'm saying. She's her own thing. Like she's not in anything. She's just her own her third party. She's running for president right now.
What?
Yeah, she's a third party candidate.
Girl, you wasting time. What are you
Yeah.
doing? Just
Yeah.
become one of the parties. Yeah, I don't understand why people do this. You know it's a two-party system. Why
But-
are you doing this?
But it's turning into a unit party.
yes, it is. No, it's not turning. It is
It
a
basically
party.
is at this point because there's Republicans that are turning Democrat
Shit. Yes,
because of how
yeah, look
anti-Trump
at
they are.
Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney.
Dick Cheney is
They are. That's crazy.
that's people don't understand. So I had this conversation with my uncle, and my uncle is like super deep like Trump, and
You voted for him the first time, the second time.
all times,
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
And I like to have these type of conversations where like I said from the very beginning, I like to expand like on other people's like biases and stuff like that. So I tried to explain to him, I'm like, yeah, Trump has these things, but there's also like these things on the Democratic Party that they counteract each other. And Dick Cheney, because one of the biggest things is that he gave me was, so why hasn't Harris done anything now? And I'm like, well, because she's vice president, and vice president has limited powers. The only person that has been known to abuse the fuck out of the vice presidency is Dick Cheney, and that's because he had a dumbass president that he could just like.
Yeah, but she had a dumbass president too.
Yes, but Biden.
Like, I don't believe that Biden did anything for this 4 years. I believe it was all her. There's no way that guy was cognizant enough to do anything these 4 years.
But the difference is Joe Biden was Jim Crow Joe.
Yes, I do.
Jim Crow Joe. So he
known
has
racist.
like he's been in politics. Like
Yeah, he's a
seated in
career
there. Like
politician.
he's seated in there.
Yeah.
Bush, sure had his dad.
His
but he
wife
didn't-
was dying.
He didn't want anything to do with it. He didn't
Yeah.
want anything to do with politics. He only ran for president because his dad kind of like made him.
You know his dad was did the whole we're gonna have a new world order.
Yeah.
That was so creepy, bro.
Speaking of New World Order, there's a very good book. It's also a video by Ray Dalio. He's a hedge fund manager, or I guess not anymore, but it's about changing world order. Very, very, very informative and a very good book to read as well. The videos out there on YouTube is like 45 minutes.
Okay.
Super informative. Very good to know, because it just talks about how. So there was a moment where Russia was the top of the world, just how we are now, and eventually they fell. and then China became like the new world order, and then they fell, and then the UK became the new world order, and it's a cycle.
Yeah, but they were all
Yes.
imperialists.
Yeah, but at a certain point, for example, I think Germany was the new world order, and it wasn't so imperialist. It was more democratic type stuff. We are the actual very first like concrete democratic like system.
That's why I'm saying I think it can actually work versus them.
Yeah, we just need to fix a couple of the kinks that we have in our system right
A
now.
lot of kinks. There's a lot of kinks that we need to fix.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is fixing the electoral college so that people have more of a choice in what they want to like choose.
You brought up something earlier that I'm trying to remember. You said talking about Dick Cheney. Okay, Dick
Yes.
Cheney. Okay, so I personally don't believe that he was running the country. Like right
he
now,
definitely was.
Like, no, not Dick Cheney. I'm sorry, Biden.
Oh, word. Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's no way that man was running the country.
I think he had some decisions
Like-
and some things. I definitely think
Yeah,
that Kamala
like-
was very hands off though.
On pills,
And that's my
maybe.
problem with him.
Like maybe on pills he has some decisions, but
Yeah.
like that's it. Like there's like if you like the fact that she didn't that's one of those things that I am gonna ask my girlfriend, like, how are you gonna tell me that you're gonna vote for somebody who didn't tell you that this guy was not mentally there for 4? You mean to tell me that all of a sudden he just stopped being mentally there during that debate stage? Bullshit. He was always like that. He
No,
didn't
yeah.
say anything, and then when you threw him out there, you did it on purpose.
No.
And that was the most earliest debate any president's ever had. Why did they do that? Because they wanted the people to know that this guy was mentally unaware
just-
of
yeah, just
anything. To
non-existent.
put her in after he got all his delegates, and then it's like, and you're supposed to be the Democrat Party, Democrat.
But that's what I'm saying. This is the most undemocratic like election that we've ever had.
Like Trump shouldn't. I wouldn't have even done a debate with her. Like, you're not even a legitimate candidate. Why am I gonna waste my time fighting with you? or
Nobody
debating
voted.
with you?
Nobody technically voted for Kamala.
Like, you're
And-
irrelevant.
And like, it's a problem because, like I said, nobody voted for her. But at
And
the,
all of a sudden now she has like high fucking polls.
yeah,
Like,
but
what?
that's because like the Obamas gave really good speeches at the DNC. There was really good energy. Like the DNC, I don't know if you watched it. The
Yeah, I
DNC
did.
was fucking crazy compared to the RNC.
But it's always been like that.
Oh no, for sure.
It's
for
always
sure
been
because
like that.
that's how they managed to get
The
those voters
Democrat
in.
Party's always. I mean, they own Hollywood,
Yeah, yeah.
Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is now going more centered, finally, but still, like,
We're and believe it or not, the Democratic Party, for them running on the left, they're very right. They're very, very right. I mean,
what do you
there's-
mean? We're very right.
that's what I'm saying. They're turning into a very uniparty system. Like, for if you compare their views, they're very conservative compared to how like extreme liberals are.
Oh yeah. Okay, I
like
understand what you mean. now.
compared to how left you can go, they're right. Because you can go really left.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders.
Exactly. But even Bernie Sanders is more centered than like most of the people in the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders
That's
has
scary as hell because that guy's really socialist, and but what I respect about him is that he owns up to his socialist like perspectives.
I agree with
at
some
least.
socialistic views. So I don't agree with a whole socialistic. So communism is a very extreme form of socialism.
Yeah, it's all socialist.
But it's extreme form
Right.
of socialism, and this is where people like get their lines blurred, because like yeah, sure, some socialism can be bad because it's fully extended, but some socialism can be good, like universal healthcare. In my opinion, is very, very necessary, because I should not have to run the risk of going bankrupt just because I have lung cancer or just because I have brain cancer or,
But
or whatever.
that's because of the pharmaceutical companies.
Exactly, but it's because it's privatized. So if you make it a public and make it competitive, like what they're doing with insulin nowadays, for sure it'll make the competition. And at the end of the day, that's what should run the economy: competitiveness. But
But
Google,
universal healthcare, wouldn't that mean that we would have to be paying for that on our taxes like just like Social Security?
yeah, but we're the only undeveloped country that doesn't have it. Or sorry, the only developed country
But
that
I
doesn't
don't.
have it.
I'd rather not have to do that, because what if I don't want that type of healthcare? What if I want private
Yeah, but
healthcare
then-
and I'm paying for your healthcare and mine at the same time?
You can have both. You can. That's what I'm saying. Competitiveness. So you can have that. You pay on your taxes, and you get the shittiest quality healthcare, but you're still technically getting healthcare. Whereas you can also, if you're paying for the shitty healthcare, but you're making enough bank that you can get better like treatment, then go ahead and get the better treatment because it exists, and that's what the competitive is there for. But there's a ground floor, whereas now the ground floor is set by the private sector. The private sector is like, okay, well, incident is not going to be $100, and who's going to tell me no? Nobody.
But if you were to create more, if you open the market and still keep it private, you can lower the rate without making it universal. If you make it universal, you're telling the government to control what private companies are doing when it comes to medical. That's what I don't like about it. That goes back to fascism. I don't want the federal government involved in medical stuff.
What I'm saying is not to have full control over them. It's just to be competitive. Like literally, just like be the ground floor, be the foundation of what should be the standard for healthcare, and then everybody else goes based off that.
Gotcha.
Like I said, you're paying in your taxes for the shittiest quality healthcare. You're gonna get just the bare necessities for it to live. Like you should not, like I said, you should not have to run the risk of going bankrupt just because you have some kind of disease that is unavoidable, or you get in a car crash, which is also unavoidable. Yeah, sure, you can try to drive as safe as possible, but you don't know who the fucking retard on the other side of the steering wheel is. That fucking moron could be on a fucking meth head and just ram you, and you're fucked. You shouldn't be held accountable for that. If we have a universal healthcare, then at least you have the sense of like, okay, I'm not gonna get treated maybe the best, but at least I'm gonna get treated. Whereas it's either I just die now or I die slowly with all the debt that I have.
I just don't know how that would work in this type of country.
I mean, Canada does it, Germany does it, all these other countries do it. There has to be a way.
But Canada's health insurance is actually terrible.
Yes, because they're turning it into more capitalist.
Like,
so
I met a Canadian who literally told me, she's like, I like the way you guys do it here better because I get to choose whether I want to or not, versus over there, I'm paying for it on my taxes, but I'm literally waiting months to get checks. So it's like,
that's the problem. That's exactly what's going on. So the government in Canada is actively trying to make it seem like the universal healthcare is a bad thing. So they're making it, they're putting as many barricades as possible in front of it, so that they can go into a capitalistic private sector type of like ordeal. That's what they're trying to go for right now. That's why, it's.
I don't know how that works, considering they're like super socialist.
I understand, but they're also going through very, very, very tough times, like economically. Like the Canadian, nobody can buy a house in Canada right now. Like nobody. The Canadian housing market is at the peak of the peak of the peak. And maybe it's going down now, but back like last year it's just massive, and it's the economy, and they're trying to push it towards a more capitalistic, and that's why I say like there's no right answer to socialist or capitalistic. I think that the right answer is somewhere in the middle. If you can somehow say that like, yeah, I agree with some capitalistic views, but then I also agree with some socialistic views, then somewhere in the middle there has to be like the Goldilocks point where it's like, yeah, I agree with that. And
as long as I don't know, I guess like I have just it's a bad stain in my, just a bad reputation because Obama tried and failed dramatically. So like to me it's like,
it has to be bipartisan. That's the problem.
Exactly, because he really like. That's why I'm like no, because you forced us to do it. Yeah, I know.
And that was the biggest problem.
And fined us if you didn't get health insurance. Like what? And then on top of that, you were trying to force companies to not get their insurance, even though it's way better to get your insurance when it's crappier. Like.
Those are things he had to concede though. He had to concede some of those positions so that the Republicans on the other side could accept.
What do you consider him, a progressive or a socialist Democrat? Some people say he's a socialist Democrat. I say he's a progressive, but which apparently are not the same thing. He's definitely not a liberal.
I think he ran as a liberal.
Yeah.
He definitely ran as a liberal.
But what he did was not liberal.
Not liberal. He had very big pharma, big bank, big conglomerate that didn't jive with me as much, and that's something that I learned like after the fact. When I started learning about the economy, that's when I started to like really learn like deep into like exactly how history worked, because I understand history to a certain extent, and you can extend like you can understand the actions that people take, but at least when I started looking at the economy, it's like, yo, this is a completely different viewpoint. Like Woodrow Wilson, was it Woodrow Wilson? No, Hoover, which is the one that like pretty much exacerbated the run into the depression. He fucking destroyed us with economic policies, just wrecked us, just completely wrecked us, completely. And FDR had to go in with the New Deal and do all this shit. And
I don't agree with that motherfucker.
FDR,
He's considered a progressive.
yeah,
In textbook terms.
but
I don't agree with him.
that's
For you
what
to make the gold, take off the gold standard and then make gold illegal is to me absolutely insane.
But was that FDR?
Yes, that was
That's
FDR.
FDR.
That's why I'm like, what is just that alone is already like to me just he's the reason why we have term limits.
Yeah,
That
for
fucker
sure.
was gonna he was trying to be a dictator. He was like, I'm gonna be here until I die.
Well, he didn't run the
Some
third
fucking-
time. He didn't want to run the third time, and he didn't want to run the fourth time either. But he had so
Died
much
from
support.
polio, thank
Yeah,
God, right?
he had so much support that he was kind of like, I feel like I kind of have to run because, and every single time he won with a landslide, which says something about like who he was or where we were as a country.
At least at the time.
At the time,
But
exactly.
Robert Kiyosaki was alive during that time, and he has a different perspective
For sure,
of him.
for sure.
Quick second.
Yo.
Quick second. There's a really bad echo coming out from your mic, and also an echo from your mic. So I'm gonna be.
this way, maybe?
Yeah, stay there. The mics are connected again, so just keep talking.
Oh, okay. Oh, let me know because I thought you wanted me to wait. All right, so
I unplugged them and put them back in. See that?
I actually want to switch conversations
Hit
to
me.
this again, South.
Doesn't matter.
We're gonna talk about P Diddy
Oof.
because you know,
I actually don't know that much about the recent news. I know that he got arrested again. Again?
this is the first time.
Word.
Yeah, the first time that it came out was that they raided his house, and they couldn't really find anything, and then they finally gathered enough information to where they had a reason. Okay, great. They had a reason to raid it again, and this time he did get arrested.
He got it.
So he actually, when they raided his house, they found like 100 something lubricants or whatever.
Oh yeah, the baby
Bottles,
oil shit.
bo-
The baby oil shit.
A baby oil and lube, with 50 Cent roasted him for it because they have like
Of course,
beef
50.
or whatever.
Bro, 50's hilarious, bro.
And I actually fuck with 50 Cent. I never liked P Diddy ever. I never listened to any of his songs.
I think he's just like outside of our generation. Like
yeah,
just
that's
slightly
like
outside.
what? That's like generation before us, right?
Right before us. Like he was popping off right when we were being born.
Yeah, because I was like,
Yeah.
I don't jive with him at all. But
before we go into the P Diddy thing, somebody wrote a comment. I want to address that.
Arrival of the Fittest, Jill Stein is Green Party. Yes. I'm a little behind though.
No, Dark Days.
Oh, sorry. He wasn't trying to be a dictator. They've changed the law because he was the last president that talked directly to the people and made sure we knew what was up. You're talking about FDR.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I don't think he was trying to be a dictator. I just don't agree with what he did during his presidency, for sure. But I appreciate you for the comment.
I mean, he saved us. Like, there's a lot of the things that he did that got us out of the shit that we were in. Like,
I agree more with him than Lyndon B. Johnson. I don't agree with Lyndon B. Johnson.
Is notoriously one of the worst presidents that we've ever had. Like, notoriously.
Yeah. I don't like Nixon either, but I prefer Nixon over Lyndon B. Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, Nixon had his faults, but at the end of the day, Nixon was more a politician than Lyndon B. Johnson was. Lyndon B. Johnson was a fucking lunatic first, like, most of his life.
He was another progressive.
Yeah, he was a progressive in the worst kind of like ways where he didn't. I don't know. Some of the things that he went towards was just not maybe it wasn't his ideology. Maybe it was the way that he
Oh, I definitely
like
think it was his
acted towards
ideology.
it.
Because the New Deal, that was purposeful. I think that was purposeful. Like, how is it that you create this New Deal and then years later, Thomas Sowell talked about it. Years later, we realized that your New Deal affected so many black families.
Yeah.
Fatherlessness on another level, an epidemic of fatherlessness in the household.
So that's a era of American history where that should have been the moment that American politics should have realized that we fucked like the black generation so much.
Hard.
Like so much that we needed to do something about it. That's something that I commend Germany for doing. Germany after World War II, they made sure that everybody learned about exactly what happened during the Holocaust, to the point now where like if you talk just slightly good about Hitler, like just say like, oh, if he could have used his brain for good, like that kind of shit, people in Germany will be like, the fuck are you talking about? Like Hitler was a fucking devil, and he was.
Yeah, he was.
But I see the same thing about Fidel. If Fidel would have used his brain for better, like good things, who knows where Cuba might have been.
I have a strong feeling that Fidel was a plant. I don't think he was like. I think he was a hardcore plant.
That whole like story with Che and all that stuff is very weird to me. I
think Che was legit. Che was legit, but Castro was not.
Yeah, I mean,
Che was a real martyr.
Yeah,
he was a real martyr.
Yeah, but I commend Fidel for how long he held power for, and that's what I was saying.
I mean, but if you're gonna starve your country and take away their guns, I mean, you know.
But if he would have used those kind of ideas to better not only himself but to better his whole country,
that's not what a dictator does, though.
100%.
That's why I don't think he was a literal, like, if he really cared about his people,
no,
he never cared. He wouldn't have done that.
He never cared.
Like, and we were.
It was all a facade.
And Cuba was a threat to the United States. Like before that, economically,
yeah, no, for sure.
When it was
sugar.
El tipo antes de él, ¿cómo se llama el Batista?
Yeah.
He, even though there's a lot of things that, you know, the guy was un mafioso, but at the end of the day, like, the economy was booming.
Yeah.
It was booming at that time. Like, so it's like,
yeah,
you know, like, yeah, there was, Hollywood was in Cuba. Like, all the Hollywood people would go to Cuba to, the Prohibition time.
The mafia lords wanted to make a malecón, like a disgusting casino, which would have been,
that would have been
Vegas.
so beneficial.
Vegas would have not been Vegas.
It would have, maybe it would have still been Vegas, but they definitely would have had competition. That's for sure.
Vegas exists because there's a dam. Is it the Hoover Dam? There's a dam that's around there that when they were making it, they needed somewhere to stay, so they stayed in what's Vegas now, and it was like a lawless town because everybody was a construction worker.
Right.
So they started working there, and then they started to make civilization there, and it turned into Vegas. But Vegas turned into Vegas because of that construction there. If they wouldn't have had that construction, then we would have found a different way to like get our economy up. Then because that dam that was FDR. FDR made that dam.
I feel like FDR was like the Batista of the United States.
Well, we definitely needed him in that moment.
Right. Yeah.
That was definitely one of the moments that we needed a president like him to like do some kind of action to get us out of that shit.
It's crazy though. There's a lot of people, even though I mean, obviously, like, you have a right to critique, you know, like I critique a lot of, I critique Trump, even though I'm voting for him, but I'm still gonna critique him. Yeah. There's something that FDR said that, not FDR, RFK said that I was like, damn, that is deep. He said, I have the quote, but he said, I've said this quote like once already, and I'm gonna say it again because it's such a good quote, man.
Say it, like, kind of look it up.
I'm gonna say it right now if I can.
You don't have to say it like exactly.
If I can, I'm gonna try. He says, "A government that silences its critics have a license for atrocity."
Yeah,
and that's 100% like we needed FDR at that time. But there's so many things he did wrong, and you have a right to critique what he did wrong. Because if you don't critique him, then how are you gonna like improve it or avoid that from happening again. Same thing with Obama and Bush and Trump and Biden, etc.
It essentially goes back to how we started this whole conversation, which is like, if we're just having a conversation where we're just confirming each other's biases, are we really having a conversation?
Right.
We're not.
We're not.
That's the whole point of having a political conversation. It's to, hey, I don't necessarily agree with this and this, but I do agree with this. And then we find somewhere in the middle that maybe, you know, maybe it's more leaning toward your side, or maybe it's more leaning toward my side. But at the end of the day, it's closer to the middle where we started.
That's what I think democracy is.
For sure.
Is
for
open
sure.
dialogue.
Yeah.
If you have an open dialogue, the market will decide what they mainly agree on.
But then that means open debates.
Exactly.
Not a two-party system. Like, have more choices, have more voices out there, have more people out there, and hold more people accountable. Because right now we're not holding anybody accountable.
No, we're not. We're
Nobody.
definitely not holding on. Especially if
we still have fucking ghouls in our Congress. Fucking Mitch McConnell. He's a fucking ghoul. What the fuck is that guy still doing
Mitch
there?
McConnell, Pelosi.
Yeah, exactly.
What's his other guy's name who's always with Pelosi, and he has like this Schumer,
Matt Gaetz. Even though he's not old, I don't agree.
Yeah,
with him.
what's up with you not liking Matt Gaetz?
I don't like Matt Gaetz.
Actually,
He's a pedophile.
But there's no proof of
No, there's
that.
proof. There's proof.
God,
There's proof.
I need them to come up with the evidence.
There's proof. He has a direct connection to like, there's somebody that he knows. Off the top I won't be able to remember, but there's some kind of connection to like either a teen party or like a teen like for teenagers, or just like somebody that was a teenager that was involved in that kind of stuff, for sure.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, if you get caught, then we'll know if he really was a.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully he gets caught if he really is a pedophile. Speaking of pedophilia, that was a good transition. I don't know if you did that on purpose or not, but that was great. This video? Okay, so I found this video by accident. Amazing. Not that video.
Lol.
We don't want that video. We're gonna explain that video, but we don't want that video. All right. It's the video, the first one you had. That one. Okay, so go down. There was a video there. Hold on. Let me see here. Open this up real quick. There was a video there about this guy who, bro, don't tell me that they removed it. Wow.
It has to be this one.
They removed it.
It's not this one?
I don't know. It's okay, go back. I'll just say what the video is because they're not. Wait, go down. Here, yes,
Oh
that.
yes, I saw that video.
Awesome.
I saw
Okay,
that video. Yeah.
Let's listen to this real quick.
From the beginning?
Yes, yeah. The gold.
Alright, hold on.
Amazing. And this is somehow again, Trump is related to this, like somehow.
Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call himself these days. Yeah, go ahead.
I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would masturbate and tell me what to do with Cassie. I was like a sex slave, okay? For them, that's what I was. That's all right? I caught herpes, and I came back and I sued him for the herpes and won. But Diddy and Ross, which they good buddies, okay? They're gay.
Who?
Both. Diddy and Ross. And Khaled. They're all gay.
And Khaled?
Khaled, bro.
Like
yeah.
DJ Khaled.
Yeah, bro.
He has the keys though.
We the gays. Key to your old booty hole.
Diddy and Cassie. Okay? It's not good. He drinks all the time. Alright? He calls it G-Jit. That's liquid cocaine.
Alright.
I've settled $4.125 million with Diddy. I've settled $4.125 million with Diddy. Okay, but he's scared that I was going to expose him.
I don't want to talk about Diddy right now. I want to talk about you. Help me understand you. I mean, who?
It looks like an exchange of gunfire right out of a Hollywood action movie.
Police say on Friday he opened fire inside President Donald Trump's luxury hotel.
Sir, I'm ordering that you stay away from the Trump National Doral Hotel.
Police say that's where Odie stole an American flag from, and that he went into the lobby yelling anti-Trump remarks before shooting the ceiling and chandeliers. Police say he then got into a gun battle with responding officers.
The gun battle goes on for nearly a minute before Odie decides to make a run for it. Another camera capturing him still firing shots, even tripping on the marble floor. Odie was shot in the legs as he ran away and was arrested after running up a stairwell.
The accused gunman, Jonathan Oddie, faced a judge for the first time Monday.
Mr. Oddie, you were arrested for 5 counts of attempted second-degree murder of a law enforcement officer.
Terrible timing. The video's over. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So that was before the whole Diddy situation.
See, but that's like, because they said that it was like anti-Trump shit that he was saying. That just goes back, this rhetoric that they've been having, like it's been happening since like 2016, and maybe even since before that. But I've been what I like to call like quote unquote like conscious, I guess, like just more available to see everything since 2016, because that's when I became more involved in like politics and stuff like that, and that was essentially my first like actual election. So that's when I really started to get into like politics and stuff, like not as much as now, because after I got into the economy and then interest rates and all that jazz, that's when I started to get more into politics and all that stuff. And from what I can see, from 2016 to now, it's just like the rhetoric, the way that they speak, the verbiage is just so, I don't even want to say violent, because it's technically not violent, but it's like a dog whistle. You know what a dog whistle is?
Well, yeah, it's only a sound like the dog can hear.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like, I can say something in a certain kind of way, but you'll know that I have a different meaning towards it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like undertones.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So and that's been something, like dog whistles is something that a lot of racists use and has been happening. And I say racist because America through and through has been systematically racist for years, and we're still systematically racist to this day. Because our prison system is fucked. There's a bunch of other stuff that just...
My doggy.
Dale, beba ya. Dale, papito. Dale. I'll give you pets later.
I know you want to be a part of the podcast, but you can't. You gotta get out. Dale, get out of here. Stop being so friendly.
So I was just letting everybody know that, because one of the things that they said is that he was anti-Trump.
Who?
Odie.
Was he?
Yeah. Well, no. Sorry, that he was saying anti-Trump stuff is what I was saying.
Oh,
what I meant to
okay.
say. Sorry, I misspoke. And what I was saying is that like that's something that I noticed, especially since 2016, that there's a lot of dangerous rhetoric and verbiage happening since 2016, possibly even before that. And that's what I was trying to get into now, where like, because I was saying that I wasn't conscious, like viewing everything like actively as I am now, until I was in 2016, which is my first like actual like voting like opportunity. But before that, since I wasn't really following anything as much, I couldn't see the like if they were.
We were like
nothing.
2016,
like
we
nothing,
were fresh out of high school.
Yeah, and I was a very protected kid, like very, very, very protected. Like 2008 happened, and my parents unfortunately struggled. I mean, like a lot of other parents struggled, but I wasn't kept in the know. Like I was very not shunned, but like kept away from that kind of like mentality, the kind of thing. Like my parents almost lost their house, but like at the end of the day they didn't. But I could have been in a completely different like path right now, but they didn't tell me about it. They didn't tell me about it until way after, until like I was fully aware and fully conscious of like what could have happened and the consequences of like everything that like could have been like going on at that time.
I mean, it's good that they didn't tell you.
No, for sure. I it's something that I've been battling with for a very long time. It's like I wish they would have told me, but only because I'm so cynical now. Where it's like I wish that I would have known, just because I wish that I would have been more involved back then and would have started to get more involved then, as compared to now where I feel like I'm late. I mean, I'm not late because I'm still young.
Definitely not late.
But if I would have started earlier, like there's people that started getting into politics since they were like in middle school. To me, that's
also because their parents are probably like more involved or whatever.
For sure, and they get them involved.
Like you're first generation American. That's why.
I was.
You can't expect your parents to be involved when they're trying to survive in this country we call
And
America.
my dad was a realtor in 2008, 2007.
Jesus.
Yeah.
A hard time to. I mean, it's a hard time to be a realtor now. I can only imagine then.
Well, especially now. Especially now.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
Now we
it's
have
even-
fake realtors. People that say they're realtors, but they're not really making any money.
We're 2 hours in already?
That's
Oh, shit.
amazing.
Well, I can keep going for another like 7 hours.
Okay. So I wanna, because you guys were talking about Diddy. There's a video that's circulating on Reddit that I can't share because it's not. I can't. It's like rated R, even though you don't see any nudity, but you know exactly what's going on.
NSFW.
Yeah, so it's involving Justin Bieber, and it exposes what Justin Bieber was a part of when he was younger. That video is on Reddit. You guys can go and click the link and look for it yourself.
I can
And
show what it looks like. Just this part right here.
but,
Just
I mean,
that
yeah, that's it.
image?
That's
Just
all.
that
That's
part.
it. But if you guys want to go and look at it yourselves, or you guys can have your own perspective of what that video is. But
That one frame.
yeah, I personally think that he is a victim of what Hollywood is. And what's crazy about that is we're talking about a guy who was getting arrested for human trafficking, right? Okay. I think that what's going to happen to him is what happened to Epstein, where he gets assassinated.
He's on suicide watch right now.
Yeah, which is same thing they did to Epstein. So I don't think he's like the guy. He's one of the guys. So Ghislaine Maxwell's still alive, who I found out recently her father was also a human trafficker.
Mhm.
So apparently it's a traditional family thing.
I've always thought that she was the one that might have implemented the idea towards him, and then he just acted on it because he had the power to.
I wouldn't.
But there's no way of knowing now.
What makes me like question like the Justice Department right now is why would you give somebody like that 20 years in prison?
Oh yeah, well, there's a lot of.
Like I would have killed her.
Yeah,
I mean, like you deserve death.
Connections. Lots of connections.
Like you don't deserve 20 years in prison. You deserve death penalty.
Imagine all the dirt that she has.
Yeah.
All the black.
I mean, yeah, I guess like she's an asset. If the right people are in the DOJ getting that information, but I don't believe that the right people are there in the DOJ getting that information.
I guess the only counter to that I could possibly see is that it has to be like a two-part thing where it's first of all they didn't have it has to be like as concrete goes evidence that she legitimately did that, where they like the jurors are like for sure like there's no doubt in my mind that. And also the fact that like if we're gonna have policies like for example pro-life, if we're gonna have like pro-life policies and we're not gonna have, this is why the first part is important, because if we're not gonna have concrete evidence towards that happening and we're also pro-life, that's contradictory.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
You see, so that's the only kind of like legitimate reason that I can possibly see to give them years instead of death. But if
But at
for
least
some reason,
life in prison. She didn't get life. She
well,
got
yeah,
20 years.
but I mean, it's 20 years. It's 20 years. She'll be dead for everything that she did in prison. For sure, I don't think she'll make it out. I mean, maybe because people in power will stay in power no matter what.
Yeah.
But
sure.
there's always a possibility that she could possibly get fucked up in prison. We don't know.
You brought up people in power.
Mhm.
Yesterday, supposedly the UN had this meeting that they were going to implement this plot for one world government, which by the way they need consent from countries to be able to do that. But they somehow found a loophole to not have consent and just kind of like bypass it. So Congress talked about it really quick. That was on Wednesday, from the beginning until 2:54, and then we're gonna get to nuclear family, and then we're just gonna do a little bit of Q&A.
I believe it's this one.
Yeah, it is from the beginning to 2:54.
From the beginning to okay,
Here today for our press conference on what I describe as the most important issue that's getting the least amount of attention relative to its importance in our country. And like many other issues, we're going to be deciding on November 5 what kind of a country we're going to be, and it applies to this issue as well. President Trump had withdrawn the U.S. from the WHO, and of course the Biden administration, like every other disastrous decision they made, reversed those policies when the Biden-Harris administration got in charge. Well, later this week, the UN is going to hold a, quote, summit for the future. And they're going to produce, this is right from their website, an intergovernmentally negotiated, action-oriented pact for the future with a chapter on transforming global governance. Ascending beyond the powers being sought by its subordinate agency, the WHO, the UN is seeking even broader and more powerful authority, as you will hear a lot about today. The Biden-Harris administration apparently intends to fully support the surrender and compliance of the U.S. to the UN in these endeavors. They are aligned with the international globalists that hate America, that hate the Constitution, that hate our founders, that hate our founding Judeo-Christian principles, and they want America to become like the rest of the world. They don't want us to be subordinate to or governed by our Constitution. No, they want America to be subordinate to and governed by the UN, the World Health Assembly, and the WHO. And in fact, they intend to join with others at the UN summit this week to vote to award additional powers to the UN Secretary General. They seek to facilitate the evolution of the UN from an international cooperative body to an international governing body. These powers would be triggered by any one of a number of so-called global emergencies, whether it was a so-called climate emergency, a health emergency, a cyber emergency, or a gun violence emergency, whatever that's supposed to be, a financial emergency, or whatever they deem appropriate. And the Biden-Harris administration is in full agreement with the UN and the WHO on efforts to place us under their authority and to require such things as their international health regulations, including the surveillance of U.S. citizens, the censoring of dissenting views, and much more. The American people didn't vote for this, and they don't support this, and it's up to the people's representatives, that's us gathered here today, to have a responsibility to expose this and to reject this. The U.S. should defund the WHO again. We should withdraw from the WHO. Any agreements with the WHO or the UN should require Senate approval or disapproval.
What do you think about that?
I think that that's a very political answer that he's giving. Very black and white. Very, it's either this way or this way. But at least from what I can see, there's like a middle path where like, because okay, at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all human, and I'm not saying like open border, open whatever, like globalist type shit. All I'm saying is that like, if there was an alien invasion right now, that would unite the entire world against that alien invasion. Because guess what? Now we have somebody that we can actually be racist to. Instead of being racist to each other, we have somebody that we can be racist to. So like, I agree with, to a certain extent, obviously, because global power is globally corrupt, 100%. But to a certain extent, there should be like.
Are you saying that hatred is what unites us?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Interesting.
Unfortunately, I mean, love also unites us for sure. But like, I feel like it's easier for people. Like, it's easier for people to say no than yes.
Yeah, for sure.
If like for example, with me, it's really hard for me to eat out, like to eat at another person's house and stuff like that. So for me, it's easier to be like, I don't really want, like, I'm okay. So that's why I'll eat before I go somewhere, or but it's easier for me to just say no. And I learned this when I was working at T-Mobile. People, hey, do you want to upgrade your phone? No. Why would I ask it like that? I wouldn't ask you straight up, do you want to switch your phone? No.
Because you're giving them a reason to say no.
Exactly. So it's like, it's easier to say no. And it's not like no is a hating word, but it's more of like a negative, like it has a negative connotation towards it. So
yeah, because you're creating a limit.
That's why improv is yes and. If you want to continue the improv, you go yes and then
Right.
So like at the end of the day, yes, there should be some kind of body, like a huge like not like a corporation, but like a governance of what us as humans actually stand for, like the good, the positive that we actually stand for. It'll be hard. It's hard because, like I said, there's no alien invasion going on right now. But if something were to happen like that, for sure, there's no doubt in my mind that we would get united. That's why I agree with.
The only reason why they created the UN was because of World War II.
Exactly.
But there hasn't been another World War after that.
Looks like we need another Hitler.
But we're kind of close.
Yeah, years later. How long has it been
Yeah.
since World War II?
Yeah, I mean.
And if it makes sense if they would have discontinued it and then continued it again because they believe there's going to be a World War III.
You know that there's a theory out there that history runs in cycles.
Yeah, it's like cyclical.
Like cyclical, yeah.
Yeah, I know what
And we're on the cusp of another cyclical event where it's
they need more deaths and more money for the military-industrial complex.
What's happening in Israel is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Bro,
it is.
The latest with what happened in Hezbollah.
A topic for another podcast.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
No. Yeah, but just to I don't know much about that. Just because the history with that is ridiculous. And you have to know the history, and I don't have the time.
No, the only thing that
I'm more focused on our country than any other country.
Yeah, no, the only thing now is, and it's only because it's a humanitarian crisis, and that's the only reason why I know about it. It's because they put bombs inside pagers.
Yes, yeah.
And
I heard that.
That's terrorism.
Insane.
That's terrorism.
Freaking
because
insane.
now people are terrified of holding a pager in their hand.
Yeah.
They blew up a fucking 9-year-old, dude.
Yeah.
That's terrorism.
You're talking about Israel doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
With our money.
Yeah.
With our money.
Not
which
a good,
I 100% disagree
Not
with.
a good look. I mean, if it would have passed that bipartisan bill, we would have sent another $600 billion.
What they need to do is like, yo, Netanyahu, shut the fuck up. Either stop the genocide, because it's a genocide. Stop the genocide, or we just stop funding you, bro. And that's it, and that's how it should be. But it's too much shit in the middle.
I definitely want to have this conversation for another podcast. So there will be a to be continued, guys. There will be a second one for sure. But I want to really quick talk about a nuclear family. You do have a family. Are you married by any chance? Or
I'm not married, but I have my girlfriend.
Okay.
Are
you planning on eventually
we're
getting
working
married?
towards it. I want to be more financially stable. Like I want to be able to get her like a good ring and stuff like that.
That's cute.
I feel you, bro.
Yeah. That's my biggest thing. Like I don't want to get a ring off Temu, you know, like a fucking $35 ring. You know, that's fucked. I wanna be able to make sure that we're financially stable. We're
Weddings are expensive.
Yeah.
And even if we don't get a wedding, I want to be able to show you that you mean that much to me. I don't want to give you something half-assed, because then that just means that my feelings are half-assed, and it's not. My feelings are full. So
the difficult of being a man.
Yeah. It's true.
I cannot relate, but I can feel it. There's actually a okay, so I want to really just touch on this. Tagvault.org. Open that up really quick. So this is a statistics that single moms versus single dads, and how a child is better off with a single father versus a single mother. Very interesting stuff, because the courts favors the mother over the father, but statistics tell you otherwise.
But what they should be talking about is more than both of them combined is having both of them together.
Oh yeah, of course. A nuclear family is the most important thing out there, which, by the way, Marxism is against nuclear family.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because it says that, where is it? Okay, here we go. So if you go all the way down, where there's going to be a graph, and it tells you that a single father is more financially stable versus a single mother. A single father has a higher chance of not relying on government subsidies versus a single mother. Single father psychologically, just because a man by nature is just more rigid and more disciplined and more logical, there's a lower chance of the child ending up a drug addict or a criminal versus a single mother. But the majority of kids are raised
with their mom.
With their moms.
Yeah, because of the courts, and because of the courts giving the mom too much power.
Which makes me think, like, is this like meant this way? Like, why would you?
I think more
make
than
it that
anything, it's
way?
a system issue. Like, systematically, it needs to get changed. Like, first of all, more than anything, if we're gonna be talking about equality, then give us equality. Like,
Yep.
Men and women on the same page.
Yep. 100%.
Just because, yeah, sure, you had the child, but if everybody deems that you're not worthy of being accountable for that child, then you're not worthy of being accountable for that child. Doesn't matter if he came out of you or she came out of you.
You don't have a right to your child. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Like, that to me is insane. Like, how is it that you, who inseminated the mother, does not have a right to the child?
It's a 50-50. It takes two.
Like, that to me is just like that should change. That needs to be. That doesn't make absolutely sense. It takes two people to have a child. Why is it that one automatically is favored by the court system versus the other when it took both of them to have that child in the first place?
It also incentivizes, I don't want to generalize, but from what I can tell, it incentivizes women and men, but in a different way. I'll explain the women first. It incentivizes women to take advantage of that system.
Yes.
So there's people that I know that went to the Marines, and they they were with somebody and she left them, and now she's having a kid with another Marine, and they were married.
What a bitch.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
So and
wow.
Who knows what her actual intention was? She will. Those type of people will never say what their actual intention was.
I don't think they even know what their intentions are.
Yeah, and if they do know, it's a very malicious intent.
Right.
So it incentivizes on one side for the women to take advantage of the system, and on the other side for the men to take advantage of the system, but in a different way because of the subsidies and all the shit that they get for being a single parent.
But they don't even get that. As a man, you don't get the same subsidies as a woman does.
No, but since they're a single parent, they still get some kind of help from the government.
But it's
not
way
as
less.
For sure.
Which is it
For
defeats the whole equality
For sure.
perspective. You're still a single parent.
I'm just trying to be equal on both sides, right? Because there's bad actors on both sides. There's bad actors everywhere.
Right.
So I can't say something negative about one side and then not say something negative about the other side. So for sure there's people on both sides that are doing something shitty for themselves. It's just, first of all, weeding those people out, actually more importantly, is fixing the system so that the system weeds out the people themselves.
Exactly. That's what because you can't weed the people out.
You can't weed the people out, yeah.
Yeah, that's there's another one here that I really want to touch on. It's Marxism versus a nuclear family.
Okay.
This is interesting. So just 3 key points here that a lot of people don't know about, and I wanted to read it to you and then tell me what you think. Marxists believe that the family is a tool of capitalism, and its main function is to maintain capitalism and reinforce social inequalities. Marxism is a conflict perspective in the family that argues that the working class, which is a bourgeoisie, they consider the working class. The proletariat is a working class. The bourgeoisie is a middle class. The proletariat is exploited by the capitalists, which is the bourgeoisie, who profit off their labor.
Yeah.
Marx and Engels believe that the monogamous nuclear family emerged from benefits capitalism. According to Engels, the nuclear family promotes inheritance and consequently intergenerational inequality.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, so that's a 2-part system, 2-part thing, right? So there's the inheritance part where you're born into money, you're more than likely going to die with money. And then there's also the part where if you're part of the working class, it goes back to what I said earlier. If I'm doing the work, I should get recompensed just as much as what the company's making.
But this perspective is pretty much saying that because you are living in a 2-family home, that you are going to have inheritance, and that's false.
The thing is that
because I was raised with both my family, by both my dad and my mom. I'm blessed, and I don't have any inheritance.
No, for sure. But I can see also how it's a capitalistic thing where it's they want the nuclear family, but I don't see that as necessarily something terrible. It's bad to a certain extent, but it's not terrible just because it's family, and at the end of the day, family is always going to be like what
Exactly.
it was going to be holding everything together. So like, yeah, sure, there's this guise of like capitalism, but you can easily take off that guise of capitalism and just be like, it just works because we're a family.
And just because, like, for example, I was saying last time, like, okay, we're building our future, right? And then I'm not gonna give our kids what we're building just because they're our kids. You're gonna work for it.
100%.
So this mentality to me it's more wrong than it is right, because you're assuming that just because I'm building a nuclear family, I'm going to automatically give my kids what I've built, and that is wrong. They have to earn it.
Yep.
They don't deserve it just because we've made them.
I think that's something that has come into our generation more than anything because of late stage capitalism. Because we're living late stage capitalism right now. This is what late stage capitalism looks like, where the worker isn't getting paid as much as they're getting as much as they should be getting paid. We have no rights. It's historically the lowest unionized that we've ever been. I mean, obviously, other than before we had unions, but like,
I mean, unions happen because of the labor was just like we were getting destroyed in labor.
Yeah, and in my opinion, we should still have unions. Unions are very, very important for the economy. Like in T-Mobile, I wasn't like getting fucking slaved, but there's some things that if I had a union, I would be able to like hold my own, to tell my manager like, yo, that's fucked. Like I don't want to do that because, and it's like it's
a hit or miss though, because if you're bad at your job, they can't fire you. And I don't like that either, because it goes against meritocracy.
Yeah,
that's what I don't agree with unions. Like I understand why we implemented them, because they were abusing laborers.
Yeah.
When Carnegie was in power, Rockefeller, that's when the unions became a thing.
So that's the pendulum,
right?
That's the pendulum.
But now it's like they're taking advantage to the point that it's like they don't even want us to work 5. They want to try to work 3-4 days a week. Like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you gotta work 8 days a week, and that's minimal. Entrepreneurs don't even work 8 days a week. I'm working 12 hours a day, because you're working for a business, and then you're working for your business,
and you're getting a fraction of what I'm getting.
Exactly. So to me, I personally, like, I understand why they created unions. I understand the concept of it back then. It made sense, but now it doesn't make as much sense as it did back then.
For certain industries, it does, just because for safety standards and stuff like that, like
for education, bro.
Education, I believe, should have a union, because
there's teachers that don't fucking do their job, though.
Exactly. But then we'll be able to hold them more. Like, it's all about keeping the bad actors out. If you can have a union that's run by good actors that are generally trying to do something good and represent something good, then I believe that should be the standard, because it goes back to something that we talked earlier. It's passion. If you see somebody that's passionate about being a teacher and actually wants to stand up for other teachers,
they should get paid more, though.
They should get paid more.
But unions don't pay. They pay equally.
They pay equally.
I don't like that. Because then the person that's doing better is going to get paid the same as the other person.
But it depends on what level you're at. Because, yeah, sure.
What do you mean what level? Like how many years you've been in the industry?
No, how important your level of education is. Like, as a first grader, how important is your education? It's still important.
Yeah.
It's still important. I'm not trying to deny that. It's just like at senior year, I'd say it's more important because you're more conscious as compared to a first grade.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Where like first grade, you're learning how to read and write, and that's so important. That,
right.
Like that's foundational. That's not without a doubt in my mind. That's foundational, but it's still not as important as somebody like college.
Right, professors make good cash.
Like that's your literal future, and you can still learn to read and write as an adult.
Yeah.
So like, there's certain levels. So like, and that's teachers, but like at a factory level, if you're just the person that's connecting the cable, you shouldn't be getting paid as much as the one that's fucking running the heavy, like.
So it depends. So what you're saying is it depends, which I agree. It depends on how much value are you putting into the industry,
and then make that an equal playing field.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from.
Like levels.
But the idea of making everything a union.
Well, a union for the industry, but then
Because then there's no privacy if everything's a union.
No, but you can choose not to be part of the union.
Right.
You can choose not to unionize. Like I can be part of whatever company has a union and not be part of the union.
Like all moving companies are anti-unions.
Yeah.
That's an example.
That's fine. And even if
reason.
Even if your industry is unionized, you can still choose to not be unionized. You can still be like,
yeah,
no,
like there's hospitals that are unionized and there's hospitals
as long as they're not being like disrespected or like treated differently just because they're not part of the union, that's fine. Like there needs to be some level of respect. Just like if you're not going to be part of the union, that's fine. You're still going to get paid this much because you're still at this level, which means that equality still exists. You don't want to be part of the union, that's fine. You just won't get the benefits that we have.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Which is, yeah, as long as one thing is you giving me the option to opt out, and another thing is you forcing me that you can't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's freedom.
One last thing here that I wanna. This is actually just me asking you genuinely.
Hit me.
So I want you to give advice to single fathers. Do you think that a single father should find a woman, even if it's not going to be the woman of his child, just for that child to not be raised without a mother? Considering you are raising your child in a nuclear family.
It's I think a case by case scenario type situation, just because the age of the kid matters. Where you are in life matters too, I feel like, because if like people our age, like if I break up with my girlfriend now and I become a single father, it's still early enough for me to like find somebody and then introduce my son to this other person.
So what's a good age, do you think, for a father to start dating as a single father?
I mean, I don't know if age is the right definition for it. I think more of how involved your kid is with you and your life. If your kid is heavily involved in like your life, and you can tell that he's more conscious to like your ideas and like your day-to-day life, then I'd say that maybe it might be more helpful to find somebody, but not make it the sole responsibility to do it.
Okay.
Just if it happens, it happens, but don't go out looking for it specifically. Do things that are healthy for you and healthy for your son or daughter or whatever, and move on. Keep going. Like for example, I love going to Barnes and Noble. I absolutely love going up just because I love reading. So like if I have an excuse just to go find a book, I'll go. So find an excuse to go somewhere that's healthy. Go to the library. And if you meet somebody, you meet somebody. If you don't meet somebody, then fuck it. Was it meant to be? You know?
But be open to the idea of being able to meet somebody if it happens.
Yeah. Don't close yourself off.
Okay.
Just because it's a new introduction to your offspring, then that doesn't necessarily mean that you should limit yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're your own person too. And yeah, you have your offspring, but you live your own life.
Right.
And you want to teach your offspring to live their own life. When they're your age, you would want them to be selfish for certain things and be selfless for other things. It's just gauging it.
And then since you have a son,
Okay,
so what advice do you have for fathers that are raising men just like you?
It's definitely tough, but I feel like raising a daughter might be harder.
So I've heard.
I can't say for sure because.
Why do you think that is?
So I'm a brother, and I only have a brother, and I only have my son. So my whole life has been like sons,
dudes.
It's been dudes. Like I obviously have my girl cousins, and I have cousins they're both girls, and that's fine. But from what I can see is there's more expenses as a girl.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And that makes it just that much harder, especially nowadays. If you would be living in an economy where it's like everybody's not doing like super well but doing okay, where they can afford to buy tampons or afford to buy toilet paper or basic necessities for a girl, which in my opinion should be way cheaper, if not completely free, because this is something that girls absolutely, without a doubt in their mind, they absolutely need.
That's an interesting perspective. I never thought of that.
Like, obviously people need to make money too, and I get that point, but it's a necessity. Like, it's like air.
Yeah, or like water.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you need that. It's, people still sell water, but there's still accessible water to get to. You can do that. Just like we were talking about earlier, the foundation of the healthcare. You can leave a foundation where maybe it's not free, but it's extensively more cheap than somewhere else. Maybe you can get the highest quality fucking like super soaker fucking tampon, but the one that they give out for free is like un papel de toalla. You know, it's fine. You're still getting something.
Yeah, something's better than nothing.
Exactly. So I think that's the biggest difference. Girls are a little bit harder just because of that. I mean, guys still obviously have their rambunctiousness.
They're more rebellious.
I was more on the noble side, more like chill, I want to say. But my brother, he wasn't like a complete like crazy kid, but he was more on the crazy side of the spectrum than I was, for sure.
That was me.
Yeah, but there's always one and the other.
Yeah.
There's always one crazier one than the other. Like, there's stories of my brother that he loves to tell the stories. He just goes on and on and on about all his crazy stories of all the shit that he did when he was baby. And these are things that he doesn't remember, but he knows that he did it because we always tell him the stories, and now he's the one telling the stories now. But he's the rambunctious one.
He's like, I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. I can relate. I can relate to you, brother.
So it's like luck of the draw. Like, if you get like a crazy son,
you gotta be obviously tougher.
Yeah. But I mean, Benji's not like super easy. Benji right now is giving me crazy ¿cómo se dice? Majadería, like just going nuts on me.
When's his birthday?
February 18.
What is that, Capricorn?
I think so. I think it's on the cusp.
Fun times.
I think it's a cusp.
February?
No, I'm lying. Aquarius.
Aquarius, cusp of Pisces, I think.
Oh, yeah. Aquarius. Yeah, they're...
Yeah.
I mean, Laza's pretty chill. He's not that... He was rebellious, though, as a teenager.
He has his moments. He I mean...
But they're chill.
Yeah, he's chill. I'll tell him, like, Papi, dile mami I'm sorry. Mami, I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's adorable.
But then, like, I have to tell him, like, yo, you fucked up, bro. Like you shouldn't be doing that. And then he'll still do it again. But then he'll realize, like, oh, I said sorry the first time, so I should probably say sorry this time too. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
This was awesome. We gotta do this again.
For sure.
Talk about Ukraine and Israel and
hell yeah,
all that. I would have to do some digging on that because I don't know much about that whatsoever. I'm more of a nationalist than anything. But definitely do this again. Again, Instagram at
Albanese Gill Jr.
Okay, and Mary_Truth. Guys, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you guys